This is the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast. I'm Dalton Gray.
And I'm Ryan Humphreys.
Broadcasting from our hometown of Fairbanks, Alaska. This show is brought to you by Stealthy Hunter. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
This is probably our record number of deer that we've shot down here, isn't it?
It is.
I think so.
9 years we've been doing this?
Has it been 9?
Yeah.
Does that include the first time we came down here?
I believe so.
It all runs together for
I think
me
it's
now.
9, well, either 9 trips in 8 years or 10 trips in 9 years, something like that,
Okay.
that we've been coming down here.
Yep.
And you've been here for a lot of them.
This is my 7th,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I believe so.
7th.
Yeah. And this is your,
Combined 4th.
yeah, the beginning and now
And now the last 3.
the great
Yeah.
days. See, Mo really has the brains here because he waited years of hard labor on our part
He did.
for us to figure out how to do this right before he started showing up again.
He was smart.
You kept coming down here after we had no success that first year. And I honestly, the first year you came back, I didn't think you'd get anything.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, whatever. It's not worth it.
And that year was the year that I shot a brown bear and we killed
Right.
my other buddy and I, we killed 6 deer. He shot
Right.
4 and I shot 2.
But yeah, no, it worked out, and you finally talked me into coming back. I think it was more like it went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
So this is your 3rd year consecutive coming back
Yeah.
here.
And you had guys that already had most of it figured out, so I just got to jump into the middle of it and
Yeah.
started killing deer.
Hard work was over.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been coming down here?
4 years since we've been married.
Yeah, 4 years now.
Nice.
Since
Fourth trip.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You shot your first deer that was called in.
This trip?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Well, the first deer you'd ever shot that was called in.
Yep. Because you've been coming late and they haven't been responding great.
Yeah, all that snow hunting makes it easy.
It sure does.
Kind of cheating.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time I've shot them not on the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't shoot anything?
No.
Even on Squirrel Mountain?
No, I went up there, but it was so crunchy.
Oh, that's right. We had all that snow.
Yeah. It just, you can't sneak up on anything in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and kick it off.
All right. Here we are.
Welcome back to the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Dalton Gray,
I'm Mo.
and joined today by my wife, Mrs. Gray,
That's me.
Tabitha, and joined by my notorious aforementioned friend and guide buddy, Remi.
That would be me.
You've heard us talk about Remi and my wife on the show before from other hunts and other stories, and now you're here.
I'm here. First time for everything.
Yeah, Deer Camp 2024. We're about to wrap things up here.
Yeah. One more day of hunting.
Set some new numbers,
Sure did.
mainly on your guys' part, though. I mean, if I'm
Mainly
being
this trip.
honest,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you guys have stacked them up like cordwood.
Yeah, well, to be honest, if you hadn't said, yeah, go ahead and shoot that first one when we saw it, I probably wouldn't have found that spot and shot 3 of the deer that I shot. So
that
that's
was,
true.
yeah. I mean, I would like to take a lot of credit for that, actually.
I mean, it's just the way it worked out. I mean, I went back in there because of the deer sign I saw
Right.
the first day. And
Yeah, so I guess this is as good a point to start off as any. Other folks have heard about other deer hunts in the past that we've been on. This is obviously not our first rendezvous at this general area. I mean, we've hunted almost all new territory this whole year so far. I don't think we've been to old haunts, but one time that you were at today.
I was
The
at
whole
today,
time.
and where I went yesterday was an old haunt too, wasn't it?
Where'd you? Oh, that's right. You went up there.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
And
So
Remington and up there.
we've hunted 2 spots that we've hunted in years past, but everything
the
else
most
was
part, yeah.
experimental. Well, there should be deer here. Let's climb up there.
Right. Climb up there.
But that
climb
is
through that.
due to the fact that normally in December, there's snow on the ground. So much so that it pushes the deer down out of the old growth and down onto the beach. And so you're just kind of picking them off, and if that one looks big enough, then you go shoot it. And for the most part, this is a meat hunt. Tabitha and I weren't as focused on stacking them up this year because we got a moose this year. So we weren't as much in need of meat, but we each shot one so far. We got a day left, but one each is a good number. Both big does, and that's totally fine. We've had a lot of fun. We could have shot a lot more deer. We've let over a half a dozen walk away from a shot opportunity. So I don't know. There's some fun in that, but you guys, on the other hand, we just
shot everything we saw.
We're trying to
Pretty
fill the
much.
freezers here.
Yeah.
That is the goal, and so far we've done well.
Yeah, you guys have done quite well, which brings our total number of deer up to past above and beyond previous records.
Yes.
Yep.
It does.
And how many? So we're at $3 now.
3 nice bucks. I shot that one little buck that year, 1 year.
No.
No, $3 this trip.
This trip.
No, I mean, yeah, this trip. You shot 2.
I shot
the
$2.
one
Yep.
that's out there, and then I shot one of the 2 little deer I shot was a buck.
Oh, a little
Okay.
button
Yeah, it was
buck.
a little button buck. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Four
right.
de-
So
four
we're
bucks.
4 out of 11
Yep.
that are bucks.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And some nice big does too.
Yeah, we got
Some real
and a lot
big
of fat
does.
on these deer.
A lot. Yeah.
Which
a
is
lot.
not usually the norm this time of year. But I was thinking about
Probably a
that
lot
today.
They haven't had a lot of that snow.
Right. They haven't
Yeah.
had a lot of the snow, so they've still got really good food. They haven't burned any of their fat storage.
They haven't been climbing up and down the mountains just to
Right.
get food.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still food up high.
Oh, there certainly is.
Yeah.
1,500 feet, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
We
Made
figured
that
that out.
climb. Made that climb. Found that out. Have that T-shirt. We'll keep it right here. But so I guess we'll just start at the beginning. So that the first bit, you weren't here yet, Remi. You came a couple days in.
Yeah.
But right at the beginning, it was one of the coldest days we've ever had here.
It was very-
cold.
it was.
Freezing cold.
Quite frigid.
Yeah.
None of us were prepared for that.
And the day that we started hunting, we went out that morning and we were just going to cruise the beaches because
Yep.
there's snow on the ground. It's, between 10 and 15 degrees out.
Right.
The deer are going to be on the beach. And we came to Big Buck Beach. And lo and behold, there was a deer standing right there. And I said, okay, you're up, go ahead and shoot it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking there's going to be deer everywhere.
We're
Right.
gonna do this
We'll
all day
get
long.
more deer,
Yeah.
And so you got out and pick it up from there.
Yeah, I got out and jumped out of the boat, ran around the end, had my Jim Shockey edition Primos tripod trigger stick, and with a
Is it
Spartan-
imperative that you say the Jim Shockey?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Does that make it just more
It's
stable?
the tall one.
Oh, because
Well,
he's
it's not
tall.
just
Yeah.
a Primos
It's a Primos Jim
Three-legged
Shockey edition.
gun rest. It is
Tripod.
Jim Shock. There is a difference.
Trigger stick
actually.
tripod, yeah.
There's a big difference.
And so I had a
Switching over to Remi, what is the difference?
So I had the Spartan Davros head on there
Oh yeah,
with a Spartan adapter in my AR with a 6mm arc. We talked about this. I think that's what I was bringing down here.
Yep.
And so I set up, popped that on there, and great, awesome setup. Very quick and easy to use, especially for boat hunting like
Right.
that. Being able to jump out of the boat.
right.
And I got a good lineup on him, and he was it was a small buck. He was facing me, kind of a quartering to, but mostly just chest head on. I would say now, thinking back on probably about 150 yards. I think I
Yeah.
was thinking he was closer, and so I didn't bother with any kind of thinking about drop or anything like that. Which with the 6mm arc really does matter. 100 to 150, that's 2-3 inches, and so that can have some effect on a deer. Anyway, so I'm lining up on him. I've got plenty of time. He has no clue we're there.
Yeah.
And he brings his head up kind of looking our way, and I kind of panic, and I just swing my gun, my sights for the middle of his chest and shoot. Well, he turns around. I shoot again, totally missed both those shots, and then he turned broadside, and I threw one into the vitals. And that was a little far back because he was walking forward. I ended up chasing him into the woods, and what was it, like hour and a half.
Yeah, it was a while.
I found him. I was able to find him in the snow and hunt him down. That really sucked. I mean, I even got to one point going back into the boat, and I finally told you to take me back there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the first animal I've ever really, like big game animal that I really thought I had killed that I hadn't killed yet, right? It was still, he was wounded, and I found him bedded and put him down. And and we were able to get all the meat and everything was good, right?
Yeah.
But
It was cold.
it was a
He
gut
fine.
shot. It
Yeah.
was a gut shot. But yeah, it really humbles you.
When you came back to this gift there, and your head was just hanging,
Yeah.
We knew.
I could just tell.
I'm
And
sure.
then
Yeah.
we went to look at another spot,
Right.
and then we decided, well, they're not on the beach. We turned around and I said, you should go back in there, hunt around,
Yeah, I was already
because
thinking about it. Yeah.
on his blood trail, he had bumped more deer.
Yep.
And so he said, you know what, I'm just going to go in here, even if I don't find him, which I'm going to try to, I'll try to get back on his track and find him. But even if I don't, this looks like a pretty good spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, long story short, turned out to be quite true. But you ended up finding him.
I found him.
in a bed, and you were able to finish him off, which is great. It doesn't always happen like that. We've all, I think everybody that has ever hunted down here with us has either missed or made a bad shot and taken a while to find it, or you don't recover it because maybe you just nicked the back of the deer and just got some hair, and maybe there's a little bit of blood drops here and there, but it's not a fatal hit, and they just walk off. And that's a product of some difficult shooting situations sometimes.
Well, and also another thing is anybody who's hunted blacktail before knows they come onto the hunt knowing that you're going to have little time to take shots and you're going to have difficult shots.
Yeah.
Hunting down here is very, very thick. So when you have that in your mind, you have that built into your mind to where like as soon as you see a deer, you're thinking, okay,
You gotta shoot.
You
I have to make this
shoot,
shot quick
Yeah.
because they will disappear instantly.
Yeah.
And if you've hunted deer before, you already have that in your mind. So that's what you do. As soon as you see a deer, you're making a quick, effective shot.
Yeah.
As quick as possible.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
sometimes can lead to
Right. Well,
unfortunate
and
things,
specifically in that instance, I didn't need to, and I jumped. It was the first deer we seen,
Yeah.
and I just I jumped the gun, like
Just got excited. And
yeah, and I was kicking myself for it while we were riding around in the boat there, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
why did I do that? Why didn't I wait? Well, I had plenty of time, and
I remember the first 2 deer that I ever got shots at in 2017. I missed. I mean, clean airball missed probably by inches. Now that was back in my day before I learned how to properly shoot well. And it was that trip specifically that made me come home and really focus on shooting and practicing and trigger press, basically.
Right,
It's not
right.
a pull.
Right.
And no torque on the rifle. You're not gripping it with a death grip and torquing it, and you're not doing anything wrong with your mechanics. And once you get that foundation of your mechanics, and that shows out here. And there's a lot of offhand shots. And in the old growth, when you're hunting these blacktails, like the one I shot today,
Yeah.
a lot of situations, I don't have the luxury of what I had today, where I called in a doe in a muskeg, and we'd been sitting there for a half an hour. And I was hitting the call every 5-10 minutes or so. And I'd been sitting there for at least 5 minutes since I had called that last time. And I just looked over to my left and through the sticks right next to me, the only spot that was really obstructed, I saw the double white throat patch and then a set of ears. And thinking, oh, great, she's already on to me. I'm looking, I could see it's a doe. So I had my pack on still. I was sitting on the ground. And so I just leaned forward with my rifle. And when I went to lean forward to clear the brush to shoot, she went behind a tree, and all I could see was the tip of an ear. So I just had to sit there and sit there and sit there. And I probably waited a good solid minute
It was a while
before she even moved. And so I actually took my left hand off the gun and kept it up, grabbed my call, it stuck it in my
in his
mouth,
mouth.
and then blew the call. And then she walked in another 10 yards and looking at me. And so then I had a shot. But most of the time, man, they come in and they see you, or if you bump one in the old growth, it seems like you've got 3 to 5 seconds
Or they're
before they're going to move.
Or they stand up, because a lot of times they're better. Or they stand up, they look at you,
Yeah.
and if you don't shoot,
Yeah.
they're gone.
Now, that being said, they stand there long enough to get a shot.
Right.
And it's not like
Usually,
hunting
yeah.
whitetails, where I'm sure if you did that with whitetails,
You
they'd
could
be,
never hunt whitetail the way we hunt the blacktail.
yeah, they would be gone
Mm-hmm.
long time ago.
Yeah.
But these ones, that they'll give you a shot, but the problem is not that they'll just run away and you'll never see them again. It's that after that 3 to 5 seconds, they'll run and then they'll stop, but they're going to be in thick
Yeah,
stuff.
they can be. Yeah.
They're
then-
further away.
And then
or-
you have an obstructed shot. And
Yeah.
I had that happen a few times earlier on this trip where we
Yep.
bumped a bedded deer and I had my gun up and I could see it. I could see the back end and I could have shot it straight up the tailpipe.
You want a lot of meat?
But
Yeah.
with the rifle I'm shooting at the velocity that I'm shooting, I've done that before and I know how that story ends. And so I just didn't want to shoot it. It's just not worth it. At that point, you lose a third of your meat on these tiny little deer. Which I guess for folks that might not be familiar with it, we are in Southeast Alaska hunting Sitka black-tailed deer.
And
So-
their sizes are a lot smaller than a traditional whitetail.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, a
pretty
small, an average sized doe is what? What weight do you think? I'm never very good with these.
I'm not either.
I would say 100 to 110 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
because
an
you
average
can
size
easily
doe. Yeah.
rip them around the
Yeah.
Because you know a
ground
lot
and
of
drag them and-
whitetail from
Yeah.
what I've been told around 150 ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly some of the smaller does that we've shot have been 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
pretty
for
light.
sure. For
Pretty
sure.
lightweight.
And when it comes to antler size, you're looking at more like the not so much now. There's some bigger bucks coming out of North Carolina now, but what used to be really common for North Carolina bucks, right? You get those real short little like 6-pointers, and like that's a pretty
A
decent
big
buck
one,
here,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And that was like if you got that in North Carolina, that was nothing to be.
Yeah. I mean,
Ashamed of,
for
yeah.
blacktails, if you shoot 100-inch deer, that's a
It's a
great
Yeah,
deer.
that's
a big
And
deer.
we've
Yeah.
killed 2, maybe 3 of those
Yeah.
in 9 years.
Yeah.
Nothing
2
big
for
yet
sure.
this year.
Maybe 3.
Yep.
And that's hard to come by. Those deer are hard to find. You see the tracks of them. You see those big monster, borderline caribou looking tracks
Right.
in the muskeg sometimes, and you go, man, where are you hiding?
It's like a completely different animal.
Yeah. Well, and the body size and the weight on those is, I mean, it looks like, and I saw one this trip. I saw what I think was the biggest buck I ever seen. And he came into the call, but he was chasing a doe into the call, and they never stopped.
They didn't stop.
They were 120 yards away. I had just hit the call. We had just crested a nasty brush, alder choked, nasty place. Popped through into a muskeg, and I could see the deer trail coming from the next muskeg into this one. And I hit the call, and within 45 seconds, here comes this doe at just light speed down that trail, ran off to the side, gone out of sight. Got my gun up. As I'm looking through the reticle, looking to see if she'll come back out, this monster buck came through my scope and was gone. And his body size was, it looks like twice the size of that doe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they really are. I mean, that monster buck that I shot 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
I remember walking up to that thing after shooting average deer for years and thinking, what in the world? I mean, it looked like a small caribou. Like it was
Yeah.
just
They're
something
big,
completely,
yeah.
completely different.
And the
Yeah.
quarters are actually heavy.
Actually-
they're big.
on that one.
Yeah.
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 You ain't just
those are-
chucking a whole deer in a game bag and throwing it on your back.
No.
I
Yeah.
remember when my dad shot his buck up at that first muskeg that you went through on the way up to that spot yesterday, or the second muskeg up there, the split one. He was sitting there, pouring rain. Rain let up for just a minute. He was hid in the trees right there, right where you go into that old growth.
Yeah.
He was posted up right there. I was in the other muskeg with my brother right across from him.
Okay.
And the rain stopped for a minute, and right up in front of him, from behind one of those little green short bushes, stands this buck, this huge fork. Stands up, and he just shot it. But I remember him packing that deer off the hill just from there down to here and saying, I don't know if I'd want to carry this big of a deer much farther down a hill like that. That's not a light pack
A
out.
little bit of a hill too,
Yeah.
especially from there to.
And especially
Coming down and
that trail up
steep
there
and-
is up and down and through the logs and ducking behind stuff and hiking in the old growth it's not always easy.
No, it's not for the
Well, the
faint
old
heart.
growth is one thing. It's that halfway between where it was clear cut and then it's grown back. I was in a bunch of that today, back, and it's like I look, looking at the mountainside, looking at my map, going, well, there's a couple 100 feet up. There's a muskeg, but
A couple 100 feet is
looking
a
at-
long
You know
way.
what's between you and that muskeg.
exactly.
Yeah.
I can see it. It's crisscross logs everywhere,
Yep.
and on layers of each other, and at about a what would that be, a 90% grade?
It's pretty steep at times. Yeah.
Yep. And alders grown up in between.
Yeah. You know it's steep when you're
Devil's
headed
Club.
downhill and your left hand or your right hand for balance is reaching out here
On
and
the
the ground
ground.
is here.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of skittering your way down.
When you look over 50 feet and you see the top of the big thick spruce trees
Yep.
Yeah.
that you were just by, or when you are not paying attention because you're trying not to fall and you grab a devil's club that you
Yep.
thought was a bush, like I did today.
Yep.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah.
You found Devil's Club in there.
Yeah,
Almost did that a few times.
that's the
but-
little red spots on my head right there.
Was that where you went up to 500?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
We found some. There was a little yesterday.
There was
on
a
the
little
big
bit
climb. There was
yesterday.
like 3 branches of
Not
it.
a lot though.
No.
Yeah.
It was on that waterfall because I went to
Yeah.
grab for them so I
It
didn't
was.
slip. And then I realized,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
do that.
But
Yeah.
overall, like for this area, we encountered very, very
There's not a
little.
lot of
Yeah.
those. It's not like the
Club.
thick
Yeah.
patches
Yeah.
of it.
Most places you go around here, I mean, you've got multiple patches where you're just gonna get hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yep. You and I found it good a few
Yeah.
days
A
ago.
couple days ago when we went up, the other one west of where I dropped you to hit that trail,
Yep.
where we tried to go up only like 300 feet up to a couple of muskegs where we called in that big buck and doe. They're right off the beach. You go straight up, and I mean straight up. Just
Straight up.
wishing you had a sling for your rifle, which I don't like carrying my rifle on a sling down here. I never use it, and your rifle's always in your hands.
Yeah, I took mine off too.
I prefer having my gun in my hands down here.
Yeah.
You're going to miss opportunities on animals, and in the off chance that you bump a bear that decides to go the wrong direction from you,
Right.
it's good to have your gun in your hand. That's
I went with
just a good idea.
different kind of sling this year.
Yeah,
I went with the single point sling on my AR, so it was just right here the whole time. I love that.
just
Which
hanging
is
right
probably
off.
nice
Oh,
if
yeah.
you need both hands.
Oh yeah,
to-
I mean, it's not like you're going to walk with it just hanging there because it's hitting you in the legs or whatever. It's a little bit longer because it's a hunting AR, not like some short house clearing thing. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, so you only have to keep one hand on it
right.
most of the time, and it's still right there and ready to go.
But-
And then when you're climbing over stuff or whatever, you can let it hang while you get both hands on something and just kind of guide it, or set it up on a log while you climb over the log. And I really liked having that.
How do you feel like the weight distribution has been on that sling setup? Does it tend to
It does
ride forward
so
at all?
I'm going to look into, because I just bought a Magpul sling, with a quick detach, because it's super quick to push a button. I can set it down, whatever I need to, take it apart, and I can go from a single point to a 2-point and everything with that sling. But with that single point setup, because it goes under your left arm
Yeah.
and over your right shoulder, and it connects and then hooks to the rifle. And I did find quite a little bit of a pull. I've got kind of a sore muscle up here, and it never really like you feel it every once in a while, but it's nothing that really bothered me consistently.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there's a setup where it can strap to like my pack or something like that. So it's
that'd be
so
good.
it's attached a little bit more,
it's not
because that single
pulling one
point doesn't
side or
have
the
to
other.
move. It just needs to be able to have enough room to get the rifle up right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it would also like slide down to the left if you're not careful, and so then the rifle's hanging over left, and you got to move the sling back up. Like there were some things about it, definitely a learning curve for sure. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, for hunting with that short of a rifle,
Yeah.
being able, 18-inch barrel, being able just to let it hang on a sling.
I mean, Mo's basically an operator now.
Basically, yeah. I mean,
much.
I got the
Southeast operator.
drop
Right
leg
Humphreys.
10 mil, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Strapped to the leg.
Strapped to the leg. I got the AR. I mean,
He looks like he's doing something in the woods when he's walking down the beach to the
I was
boat.
texting a buddy about it before I left, and he said, "You're going to be a deer soldier."
Yeah.
You look like you're out to fix the government or
Yeah.
something.
Every time we go to pick him up, I'm like, man, he just don't fit in here.
The other day, I was coming up to pick you up on the beach, and I said to myself, "That's Jason Bourne."
He really does look like the Southeast Terminator.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean, send him and set Arnold Schwarzenegger here.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
I've only got 10 rounds in a mag, so
But you have 2 mags with you.
I do have 2 mags with me because you never know how many deer you're going to run into or how many shots it's going to take to put a deer down.
Speaking of how many shots it's going to take. So this year you've done pretty well as well.
I've done good. Yeah, I've done great. 5 deer. Today was my last day. I fly home a little bit early tomorrow, but yeah, 5 deer, which breaks my personal record for one season. I've killed 4. Well, last year I killed 4, but yeah, never killed over 4 in one trip. So,
And you were here a short time. You got it done
yeah.
fast.
So today was my
4?
third full day.
Wow.
I was supposed to have 4 full days. That was kind of the plan when I came down here, but ended up with some delays flying into town and whatnot. So 3 full days. So yeah,
And yet you shot 5 deer.
5 deer.
5 deer. It's been good.
So the joke with Dalton and I, because last year it was just the 3 of us, and we each shot 2, and you shot 4.
Yeah.
And we were kind of, like, yeah, whatever, Remington, he doesn't need to worry about shooting deer. He always kills deer, whatever. And so my thought, I didn't say this to anybody, but I had killed 3 deer when you got here.
Yep.
And I was thinking, all right, I got a head start. And then you show up and you shoot a deer. And the next day you shoot 3 more. And boom, you were ahead of me. You're leaving with 5, and I still only got 4.
That falls back to what Dalton was mentioning earlier. All of the years that we've put into hunting here.
Right.
Yeah.
Dalton and I were just having this conversation not too long ago. We feel like we have just now, in the past couple years, gotten to the point to where we know how to hunt the deer, no matter where they're at, what the rut condition is, what the time of year, the weather condition is. And there's so many variables with these black-tailed deer. I mean, there's so many different places that they can be due to weather or timing of the rut. Is it before rut, after rut? How much snow's on the ground? So, we've just gotten to the point now where we pretty much, whenever we show up and whatever it's doing, we kind of know how to hunt them now.
Yeah.
But that's taken a very long time to figure out.
To the point really probably where you can come down here and expect to kill deer. Instead of that thing in the back of your head where you're running around.
Yeah.
That was a major thing for a few years. The first few years, I mean, the first time I was here, I did not kill at all. Second time I killed 2 deer. Then the third time, I think I killed 1 deer. But it was also always those things, low numbers, if I even got deer. So it was one of those things. I mean, we come down here for the fun of it, but there is always that possibility that you might be going home with nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah. But nowadays, I think we have pretty good confidence, so we can do good on deer.
At least pull a few out.
Yeah. Well, and some of that variety, well, a lot of the variety is time of year combined with weather.
Right.
Because we've been here in November.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time you and I and the other guy were here was October.
It was.
And we were thinking, all right, we're going to call deer in. And we've watched the YouTube videos. Now, we were teenagers back then.
Right.
And it didn't work like that. We didn't see a single deer.
Right.
Not one.
But we really didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, we had no clue.
Had we? And the biggest issue we had then is we weren't using a boat or anything like that, is we needed to hike. We needed to put some miles in.
We needed to go way up on that island.
And I actually put some serious miles in on that hunt.
Yeah.
But I just didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the other guy and I walked so far in one direction on that island that we ended up getting a boat ride back to camp.
That's right. Well, I did too.
Yeah.
Because you guys were on the beach.
That's right.
And
you
I
went
hiked
around the back.
I hiked across.
Right.
Right. You guys were on the beach, and so you end up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
we walked so far, and then the tide came up, and we were not very far from town. So we texted a buddy and said, would you mind running out here and grabbing us? It's about to get dark.
And so you guys.
The last thing that a young man wants to do is call back to town and say, hey, come help me.
Yeah. But it's what we had to do. And we all got picked up, and we all learned our lesson. Don't go that far from camp in one direction until 2:00.
So what was funny about that was I had hiked over to that spot
and you
through
lost your coffee
Muskeg,
mug,
and I left my coffee cup there, my big 40-ounce camo thermos that I just got. I still have somewhere, and it was the Avex. Remember that Avex brand?
Yep.
And anyway, and I had just bought that thing, brought it down there, and I had coffee, and I had sat there and hunted across this, all this muskeg and stuff, which was, I was closer to where the deer were. I just wasn't close enough, but hunted over there, sat down with the coffee, all that. Got picked up not far from there. And later that day, I realized I left my coffee cup, my thermos, in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, I got an early start, hiked all the way across the island, got my thermos, and hiked back.
All the way back.
I mean, you never know, right? Like,
Yeah.
You could have found something.
But that trip being in October,
yeah.
and then I came back the next year with the other guy, just the two of us, and we killed deer. And we hit the rut. We hit the beginning of the rut. I shot a brown bear.
Right.
And then the following year, you came with us and the other buddy, and we killed 2 deer.
2.
Yeah. And you and I killed that one that I shot on the last day.
Yeah.
The other guy had flown home.
Actually, not even technically the last day. It was an extended day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the hunt was supposed to be over already, and we said, you know what? Let's squeeze in one more little afternoon hike.
Yeah.
And that's when it came together.
Yeah. And we shot 1 deer, and we felt like, man, yeah, we're figuring this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but then the following year, I brought my dad and my uncle and my brother down, and we killed 9.
9, I think.
I think it was 9
Yeah.
bucks.
All
We didn't
bucks.
shoot any does.
No.
And almost all of them came into the call. It was insane good deer hunting.
Yeah.
My uncle and I shot 6 in a day over the stretch of about 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah.
It seemed like you couldn't walk 100 yards and not call in a buck. It was wild. And I still haven't had a day like that since.
Nope.
But then the next year, you come back. The other buddy from before comes back with us.
I think I came that year too.
Yep.
But we hunted a different area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was here for a week. We hunted different areas, and then you
Didn't
came
see
down with
anything.
the other guy. She went home,
Yep.
and we didn't hardly get anything. I think we shot a
Yeah.
couple.
Shot 3.
Yeah, you shot
shot
2 that year, and then I shot 1.
Yeah.
And so, you go from this insane high of thinking, man, this is what it's going to be like from now on, and you think you're coming at the right time, but it just swings.
Changes.
But again, it comes down to we hadn't actually figured out where to go, and the rut makes it easy.
It does.
Because those bucks will be anywhere when they're rutting. They'll be in places that right now they will never be this time of year.
Right.
But now we're figuring it out. And so the great climb
Great climb. Okay.
up Squirrel Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. Up Squirrel?
I was
or
going to
up,
say, speaking of
or the
asking
first
your
one?
friends for help, let's go back to that.
No.
Are we talking about the first climb or the
Your
Squirrel
first day
Mountain
climb?
Yeah. Which one are we talking about here?
Well, whichever one you feel comfortable talking about.
Let's just start at the beginning here.
Okay.
Let's start at the beginning. So, my first day in, like I said earlier, I was supposed to get in the evening because I was flying in from Palmer that day, and it was early enough to where I was hoping that I could get dropped off out here that day, spend the night, be up early in the morning hiking and hunting. That was the plan. That didn't happen, so I ended up having to spend a night in town before coming back out here. So I got out here at, I think, around 9:30. So I got out here, still hadn't even pulled my rifles out of my gun case yet from them being flown. So I'm pulling all my hunting gear out, trying to be as fast as I can. Get it all out, throw a few things in the pack, say I'm gonna go for a climb.
Yeah.
Right up here behind where we camped, there's a good mountain. I've killed 8 deer up there before. Well, I mean, it's really my only option for that day. So I'm like, all right, let's still do it. So I get up there to the first muskeg. I spend a little bit of time, do some calling. Nothing comes in, nothing. So I'm not really seeing any sign either. So I decided to go up to the next muskeg, stop, call, hunt there a little bit. And then from there is the old growth where I shot that 1 buck a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I get up into there. I hunted that for a solid hour or so, just super, super quiet, slow, pick them away through there. I mean,
Right.
that's how you hunt it. I mean, you have to be extremely silent when you're hunting that old growth and just slow because, I mean, if they see you before you see them, chances of getting a shot are very slim. So I keep hiking up there, nothing. So, I caught a second wind at that point. It is now around 1:30. So I catch a second wind, and mind you, it's dark at 3:45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dark.
3:30. It is pitch black. So I'm like, well, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. Like I'm it's the first day. I'm feeling ambitious. I'm gonna get up there. Let's get up there and get some. So I keep climbing, and sure enough, I get up there, and I had never been this high on the island before. So I get up into a spot that it's in the old growth, but it's starting to get to that real like soft bottom, more flat rolling hills as I'm getting higher. So I kind of got away from the steep stuff, and it's still open and flatter. So I'm like, oh, this is looking good. This is traditionally where we'd see a lot of deer. So I stop once and I go to call. So I called one time, and then I blew on my call that second time. And let me back up a little bit. So I stop in a really tight little clearing. It's 30 yards to the other side of the clearing, and I'm standing on one edge of it. Probably about 10 feet away from the edge, 10, 15 feet away from the edge. So I get in this clearing, and I can see into the timber on the other side of the clearing, and that's why I called. I'm thinking something will come. So pretty much it was in this draw. It was at the top of this draw where these two little valleys come in, and I was thinking, if something's going to come, it's going to come from the upper muskeg,
Right.
and it's going to come down this direction because there was a muskeg about 200 yards up the mountain. So I'm thinking it's going to come down through here. So that's why I positioned myself on that side of the clearing, thinking that it was going to come through where I could see.
Yeah.
Well, I called once, called another time, and as soon as I let out that second call, I hear this crash right next to me. I mean, right on the thick, and right next to me is where it's thick. I mean, it's just a tree line at that point. And I turn around, and the classic deer hop when they do that super fast hop and those little bounces. As soon as I turn around, I see this doe, and I swear the thing was 5 feet off the ground. It was mid-hop, coming right towards me, and I mean 10 feet away. I mean right there, and startled the crap out of me. I mean, I just absolutely startled me. I think it scared the deer more than it scared me, though. But so I had my scope cover still on my rifle because it was pouring rain. It was super wet. The second you take it off, if you're not shooting, if it's off for more than a few seconds, your scope's going to get wet type of deal. So it was still on. This thing jumped out at me, and as it was, mid-hop coming towards me, I'm trying to finagle my scope cover off. And that thing, as soon as it hit the ground from that big hop out of the trees, I mean, like 10 feet away from me, that thing took another hop right back into the trees and ran off. Never saw it again. So I was like, wow, well, we found the spot.
Yeah.
The deer are here.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that was fun. So I keep hiking, and it's starting to get late. It's probably around 2:30 at this point.
Yep.
I get up there. Well, so my goal after that was I just want to see this muskeg. I'd never been this high, so I want to lay eyes on this muskeg, see what's going on up here. So I get to the muskeg, and there's a nice little point of trees out in the middle, so I work my way over there. And I start calling, and less than a minute, this buck pops out 80 yards away. I shoot it. He drops right there. Super stoked. First day. That was actually the first deer that I've killed here on the first day.
On day one.
And it was another first.
Yeah, it was another first. It was a first for me calling in a deer and shooting it.
Yeah.
So every other year, like I said, this is the 7th time here. Every other year I've been here was on the time where the deer were not coming into calls.
Yeah.
And which makes it extremely difficult, which is why I was so stoked about this, because I mean, I blew on that call twice and here it comes.
Yeah.
And so dropped him. So then I immediately went over to start skinning him. And at this point, it's getting a little dark.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit dark, and I'm at 1,000 feet and a mile away from the camp here.
Yeah.
So skinned him as fast as I could, put him in the pack. By the time my pack is loaded up, it's dark. It's dark, right? So still pouring rain, just dumping rain. So the headlight that I had, the headlight that I had originally brought down got broken. So I ended up buying a new headlamp from town, which, ironically enough, only has a red light on it, which it's not the greatest for nighttime activities.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first time I'd used a red light for nighttime activities, but now I can say from experience, it's not great. So, so I pull my little dinky headlight out. I hadn't even turned the thing on since I bought it.
It was only 200 lumens.
Only 200 lumens.
I think you're
red,
lucky
yeah.
it had
Yeah.
batteries in it.
Well, I
Did
did
you
put the
check
batteries
that?
in,
That's
but
good.
you know, I was in such a hurry because I had bought the thing in town and then went straight out here. So like I just threw it in my pack and went. So I turned that thing on. Little red light comes on. So I'm finagling with the buttons like, how do you get the white light on this thing? finagle. I can't get the white light on this thing. Finally, I realized this is a red light.
Boy.
I am up high. I am darn near at the top of the mountain, at the very, very top of the island. Never been up here, and it is an absolute cluster of a mountain to get up. I mean, it is thick, it is gnarly, it is steep, and there's a lot of directions you can go that are the wrong way. You may think they're the right way, but
They're all going down.
so I started going down, and that's the other thing is my maps were not working. I tried pulling up maps. I tried all that. It was not working. It wasn't loading at all, actually. So I'm like, all right, well, we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. So at that point, it was just dark, so I could kind of see the horizon a little bit. So I saw the horizon. I said, okay, I know the general direction that I'm going. So I drop off the muskeg, and as soon as I dropped off that muskeg, it got into the thick stuff. And you can't see the horizon anymore.
No.
You can't see anything. It's so thick and nasty. So I start walking down. It doesn't take me long to where I'm going down. And I'm going, I don't think I'm in the right spot here. So I had to climb back up. Actually, I climbed back up, looked out the horizon again, kind of got my bearings, and then I started back down. And I started crawling down at this point because it is so dark and I cannot see a single thing.
Thick.
So I am crawling down this mountain. There was a much easier way to go down, but I could not find that way. And it was dark, and I needed to get back before you guys started thinking something was majorly wrong and coming after me.
Yeah.
So I just started going downhill. And so long story short, there's a lot of things I could say about that climb down the mountain. Long story short, it is less than a mile. If you're hiking the correct path, less than a mile from where I was back down to camp here, less than a mile. And the elevation was about, 900 and
Something, yeah.
900 and something feet.
Yep.
On the way down from that muskeg, I covered over 3 miles. It took me 3 miles to get to the cabin, just going back and forth, trying to figure out where I was. And I ended up hiking over 5,000 feet with the ups and the downs of trying to figure out where I was, trying to maneuver around things, because you literally can't go some places on the mountain.
Right.
There are some places where you cannot go down. It is so steep and so thick.
Choked.
Yeah, so choked up. You cannot go down there. So you start down one way, then you have to go back up, and you have to cut over. You have to find a way to get down. And I did that so much, I ended up hiking over 3 miles in what should have been under a mile.
Yeah.
And covering over 5,000 feet. I think 5,200 feet is what we added it up.
Yeah.
5,200 feet, covered that in what should have been a 970 something.
Yep.
Drop.
Yeah, foot drop. So that was a good time. Made it back just before y'all were gonna
Getting worried. Yep.
start coming and looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, heck of a way to start off the hunt there.
So you had texted me on the inReach, as a matter of fact. So we had been around other places, and you'd hunted not too far from camp there. And we were already gone that morning. And so you were texting me and said, hey, I'm at camp, and so I'm going to hunt from here and just do whatever. Otherwise, I would have taken you somewhere else, right? And we would have had a designated pickup and drop off time, right?
Right.
We got back to camp, and then you texted me on the inReach about an hour after dark, because I'm sitting here. We all were in camp. I think Mo had killed deer that day, and we were goofing off. We're getting water and we're getting dinner started, and I finally thought, it's 4:30. Like I would understand if he would show up late, like at 4, maybe 3:45 or 4, like right after dark, and we'll see a headlamp coming down and not a big deal, right? Well, then it's after 4. And so then I'm thinking in my head, okay, at what point do I have to put my rain gear back on and go back up the mountain? Because I know the area and I've got lots of lights. And then I saw your headlamp packaging in the trash bag. And the thing that stood out to me was 200. And I went, oh, man, he's only got a 200 lumen headlamp.
Yeah.
Because I knew that you'd broken your other one.
Yeah.
And so I set my inReach up where I've got service, and then a message comes through right away. I am lost. And I remember standing in camp going, oh, great. And it's blowing outside. And it's raining sideways. We're all soaked from being out hunting.
Yep.
Immediately, first thing that comes to my head is I'm going to fill up a thermos full of hot water, because you had texted me earlier that day and said, hey, I think I'm about to head back down to camp anyway. I need to eat something. I haven't eaten anything all day.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, now he's really hungry. He's probably soaked to the bone. I'm going to bring him. I'm going to bring him a thermos of hot water. I've got my big Hilleberg tarp with me.
And we saw your puffy that you left in camp.
Your puffy was hanging in camp.
Yep. Yeah.
And so I thought, all right, I'll bring him his puffy jacket, some hot water, a couple of candy bars, and more lights.
Yeah.
And we could see your location on the inReach too.
I could see your location.
Which was handy because I couldn't see my location.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that somebody out there could see my location at that point.
So I was planning on gearing up at 5 o'clock at that point. That if he's not here by 5 o'clock, I'm gearing up my pack and I'm going up the mountain. And at that point, I'll get to the first clearing. I'll fire my pistol in the air and start shouting back and forth, and I can find you, and you can put a jacket on, get warm if you're getting cold, because hypothermia doesn't take very long to set in if you're sitting still.
Well, and you hadn't eaten either.
And so I couldn't tell if you had moved a lot or not, right? I only get one pin with your location. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking if he's just sitting there waiting for me to come up there, then he's going to get really, really cold. Not going to take long. And I knew that you didn't have your warm gear with you.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. You're just light and fast. I'm on the same island as camp. No big deal. Yeah. Well, prepare for the worst, hope for the best type of deal. But right about that time, I opened up out of camp here, walked around back, and there comes a little red light.
Little red light.
Through the thickest part of the thickest part of the backyard here.
Yeah. And the red lantern word goes to.
I'm thinking to myself, that's not the trail. And you come busting through.
It was not the trail.
Covered in leaves and sticks in your hood, and your gun is just covered in dirt. But you made it.
And you had a deer.
I made it.
And you shot your deer.
We had heard you shoot too, so we weren't super worried that you were late because we heard your shot and we knew it was a little bit later than we knew it'd be dark.
Right. Because in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, well, and because a lot of us, especially on this trip, we've been able to hear each other's shots, even across bays and inlets, because we've all been relatively high on the hills. And so when you touch off around, you can hear it a couple of miles away.
Yeah, it does.
I heard your shots today. You heard my shot today. Yep. We were miles apart.
Oh, I didn't hear your guys' shots today.
Well, you had a lot more terrain in between, but I was up on one hill and you were on another hill with the ocean and miles in between us. But we could hear you shoot to the point where I sent you a message and said, why did you shoot that many times? Did you see that many deer? Are you okay? Did you see a bear? And you're like, no, I just, had to shoot a few times. Yeah. And then you heard my shot. But normally, we don't hear that because we're in the trees a lot more. Right. And so when I heard you shoot that day, I thought, oh, yeah, that lines up. He must be on that mountain over there. So it's kind of late in the day, isn't it? Yeah. And so you're always thinking, well, normally we wouldn't shoot that late in the day because you're thinking about, I got to get out of here before dark. Yeah. And then you're thinking, well, what if he had to shoot? What if it was a bear?
Right.
And then you hear one shot and you expect to hear boom, boom, boom if it was a charge situation, unless you just brain it, give it the old canoe club.
Yeah.
But you never know. And there have been a number of instances of bad encounters in this part of the state.
Absolutely.
Not that in the recent past either.
Right.
Several, even in the last 2 years, of very bad situations that have happened with just bumping into a brown bear. And it's not that they're just inadvertently aggressive down here.
No.
But when you bump them,
It's just too thick.
they're either going to run one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're not always going to run away.
No.
And so that's always in the back of your mind. And so I'm thinking that. And then I got your message, I am lost. And so it was, kind of a bummer. And I thought, all right, I can go get you, or you'll find your way down. But at least you're not getting bit.
Right.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that I could have done to avoid some of the pain of that. One being a good light, the other being, making sure that my maps were worked and marked. That always helps.
Yeah.
What I will say is that could have ended more unfortunately, as in me coming down on the other side of the island.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I took away from that was, it was getting late. I was worried that y'all were going to start coming, but I had to slow down and be like, you know what? I just have to take my time and make sure that I come, it may take me 12 hours to get down, but as long as I make it down the right spot and don't completely screw myself
Right.
up here,
Find yourself on a cliff.
Yeah. Well, that, and if you get yourself in a hurry, you guys know how gnarly the terrain is around here. Fall down something and break a leg. Okay, then you're even in a worse situation.
Jammed under a log on a
and you have
hillside.
And
no
you had a
idea where
heavy
you're
pack on.
Right, and I had a mature buck on my back. So a lot of weight, very steep. So a lot of things could have done better there. Could have been done better there, but overall, it ended well. I was gonna get home safe. I was definitely gonna get home safe. It was just more eventful than I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, now that it's over, you're probably glad that it happened.
Absolutely.
Because
It
it's
was a great
something
first
to
day.
learn from.
Great first day. Yeah.
You learn lessons from it.
Yeah.
And you think, all right, well, next time I could do this. And you learn lessons from that. And most of the time, your lessons are learned more from mistakes than from successes.
Yeah. None of us would keep coming back and keep hunting in general if nothing exciting ever happened.
Exactly.
We would never do it. That's what keeps me coming back. That's what keeps me driven.
Yep.
Is the just the challenges.
Yeah.
The adversity.
Absolutely.
Of the thing. Yeah.
One thing that you said too is you looked at the horizon, and that's something that we were always taught growing up too. Our dad would stop and say, "Look, we're on this lake. This is where camp is. This is what the mountains look like. This is what you need to look for if something were to happen." Now, when it's raining, it's harder. But when you know the direction of what camp is facing, then you can kind of know, not a lot of people do that
and
or
that's
even
what
think
got
about
me,
that.
That's what got me started on the right path. But then once I dropped down to the thick stuff, that kind of went away. But it's a very good point, because no matter where you're at, if it's light out and you can see the horizon, make a mental note of that.
Yep.
Figure out, know what the mountains look like around you, or mountains, rivers, any kind of landmarks. One thing that I did, one thing that stands out in my mind about that is I was coming down and I saw this big tree that had fallen over and had made an arch. And I saw that on the way up, actually. Made this big arch. It was super cool, actually. And that was the one thing, that was the only thing, actually, that I saw that I recognized on the way down.
Oh, really?
That was the only thing that I recognized on the way down.
Going the right direction.
Until I saw y'all's lights. I recognized those two. But besides that, the arch was the only thing that I recognized. And, it was kind of cool that I made a mental note of that before. I remembered it.
Right.
It's little things like that can get you out of a bind.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or just give you that peace of mind that I'm going the right way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, normally, again, this time of year especially, we're not having to climb all that high for deer.
Right.
It has been unseasonably warm this year.
Very warm.
50 degrees, multiple days in a row, rain. On day 2, we started getting rain.
Yeah.
And the snow just overnight was gone. All the ice was
all
starting
the creeks
to melt.
turned to rivers.
All the mountains around here with mountain goats on them that are normally covered in feet of snow by now that look like ski country are down to just looking like alpine.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's hardly any snow left on them right now.
It looks like October.
It does.
It does.
It feels like
August.
September.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It does.
It feels like moose hunting weather. That's what I was thinking today.
But warmer.
It was dry, and I thought, I feel
Moose
like
hunting
moose
weather,
hunting.
but warmer.
Yeah.
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 Warmer, more humid, and a lot thicker.
Right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't hunt moose if I had to hunt more like this.
No, if I had to pack a moose down that,
Oh no.
no, I'd
Nobody-
probably buy some golf clubs or something. And
Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody'd be shooting moose if they had to shoot them in this stuff.
I don't
But-
think so.
You know, that's again part of it, like what you said, is the challenge of it. Because even in the dry years that we've been down here, and by dry I mean few deer, we've still just connected and said, you know what? We'll be here again next year.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And you just learn your lessons, and then you come back and you try something different. And that's been part of the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a little bit anticlimactic that now we're at the point where we go, all right, we know where to go.
Yeah, we do.
You know?
But at the same time, one thing about Southeast that you will definitely agree on with this is no matter the year, no matter what, you're going to have to cowboy up and you're going to have to hunt hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no real easy way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No easy way to do
no
it.
matter the style of
Even the
hunting.
beach hunting, like while
Yeah.
it's relatively simple,
Mm-hmm.
you're cold.
Yeah.
You're
and you're on
sitting
the
in that
water.
boat
And you're and you're not
all day.
moving.
Freezing all day.
all
long.
day long.
And
And you still have to use a strategy to actually connect. Like you have to get out of the boat, get to the
that's
deer.
when you get warm. Is
Before
when
they
when your
spook.
heart,
Yeah,
when you
right.
see a deer and you start trying to move and be quiet and your heart starts to, that's when you
Yep.
actually warm up.
And
But
your waders are full of water. Let's talk about true adversity here.
Yeah. Yeah. There have been years where it's been single digits,
Oh, it's
Yeah.
been
not
cold.
long after this time of year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, this year, so that being said, this year has been extremely warm.
Except for the
so-
first day.
Well, yeah, except for the first day, but overall, it's been very, very warm. The rut in its prime is past.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is not prime rut anymore.
no.
Prime rut for this part of the state is the couple of weeks leading up to Thanksgiving and right over Thanksgiving week. After that, it starts to taper off. Now, there is a second rut that'll kick in, which could be a lot of the reason that we've been having so much success calling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the number of deer that we have seen at higher elevations and smelling ruddy bucks on the way up to them,
Yep.
there are still bucks in the rut, and there are still does that are coming into the call. Now, does will still come into the call other times of year just because a fawn distress call like we're using
Yeah.
is meant to target does. And the bucks respond to that because they're looking for the doe that's going to respond
Right.
to that. At
Right.
least
Right.
that's what I understand anyway. But that being said, there are still bucks coming into the call. And so there is some rutting going on. And I'm almost wondering if this warm weather isn't helping contribute to that.
I think they are going into a little bit of a second rut.
Yeah.
I think
seems
so.
like it.
And I almost, that one big buck that you called in was the only one of real size.
Yeah.
Of major
Right.
size
Yeah.
we've seen. And so I'm kind of wondering if it isn't kind of pushing the smaller bucks
Yeah.
Well, that's
into
what
more
I
of
was
a rut.
thinking
Because,
too,
we've shot, 4 bucks now,
Yeah.
and none of them have been big.
Yeah.
Right.
They've just been a typical old buck,
Yeah.
starting to get forks
Yeah.
and spanning out
Yeah.
type of a buck. That's
Mhm.
pretty typical
Yeah.
little buck for down here. So I
Exactly.
definitely think that these warmer temps are starting to push those little
Well,
bucks
and,
into it.
and that would make sense too with the idea of it being a second rut. If that is true, then it would add up that 3 weeks ago all the big bucks were down low,
Yeah.
Yep.
getting whatever doe
Well,
they wanted.
the big
and
bucks get the
fighting off-
ladies.
Exactly.
Yeah, they get the
Yeah.
ladies, and that wears them out. So
Yeah. Fighting off the little spike bucks. And
Yeah.
so the little spike bucks get pushed away by the bigger bucks. And
Right.
now that the main rut is over and the big bucks have done their job, they go back up high
Yep.
Yeah.
because there's no snow there to keep them down low.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that the second rut's in, the little guys are going back into rut to try
Yeah.
to get some. So, yeah, it
Makes
adds
sense,
up.
Yeah.
It adds up. But we're having to climb for them. They aren't low.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, we're-
aren't in normal rutting country even. We
Yeah.
haven't called in a single buck in rut country, which is low.
No.
Like
Yep.
normally in prime rut that we've been down here and shot nice bucks in the prime rut, they're
pretty
100
low.
feet down to sea level. You're not having to climb anything to shoot those deer.
I think I can say with confidence that we have far surpassed our normal elevation gain.
Yeah.
And
on
our
a-
normal
on our
hiking
normal hunting
distance
days.
in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
Like we usually don't walk far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just pick an area
We've
and
done-
you
we've
slowly
done a
move
lot
through
of
it.
hiking.
And- yeah.
Yeah.
lot of
Normally it's all right, I'll drop you off here and then you're going to cover maybe a half a mile in and a half a mile back out, and you're just going to tiptoe every step, and you're going to blow the call. You'll see something, you'll shoot it, and then you'll come back out.
Right.
Not this year.
No.
This year, we're all getting back to camp and sharing stories and looking at maps and going, well, I did 4 miles over here, or I did 3.5 miles today, or I went up to 900 feet, or and then you had the great climb.
The great climb.
So
that was a great climb.
Elaborate.
For your second day.
The great climb of Squirrel Mountain.
Yes, the great climb of Squirrel Mountain. So Squirrel Mountain, it's a hill I've hunted many different times. We've all hunted it. That's one of the spots that I personally really like hunting. And because of the old growth on Squirrel Mountain, it's got really good old growth, and you get up onto the side of this hill, and it's steep, but it's open inside, and you can see 80, 100 yards in some places, which is a rare thing for here. So during certain times of the year, those deer like to go in there and they bed. I mean, you walk up there and there's beds everywhere. They like to bed in there. So second day, I decided, well, I'm going to go to Old Faithful, go to Squirrel Mountain, because normally that's kind of a guaranteed. You can get 1 or 2 deer a year out of there before you kind of scent the place up too much and stuff. So I go in there. My normal spots, there was nothing. Not any fresh sign. Wasn't seeing any deer. So again, I started feeling real ambitious, and I said, well, I'm going to go to the top. Let's just do that, So I start hiking, and I knew how far up it was, so I was hiking at a pretty good rate. I was definitely doing less hunting, more ground covering at that point, just so I could get up there, because at this point we were starting to figure out that, hey, the deer are high. They're at high elevation muskeg, so I get up there. I get to, so the muskeg is about, 1,400 feet?
Yeah, 1,450.
Yeah, 1,450. So I got up around 1,200 feet elevation, and again, opens up really nice, starts getting less steep, starts getting into the more rolling terrain, and I stopped there for a minute, blew on my call a little bit, and 10 minutes later, 2 does came in. Just came in. They snuck down this little creek from the muskeg. Looks like they came down from the muskeg there. So one of them was substantially larger than the other. So I went ahead and I shot that one, and it's starting to get a little bit later. So I'm like, you know what? So I marked that deer on my Onyx. I said, I'm very high up here. I'm a long way, so I'm going to make the best of this. I'm going to keep going. So I kept going. I got to the edge of the muskeg. I was just tiptoeing through there. Boom, another doe runs out. So shot her, walk up to her, mark her on Onyx. I'm like, oh, this is great. 2 deer down in 10 minutes. I'm like, this is perfect. Looking at my clock, I'm like, I have time to get all the way to the top. So I get all the way to the top, and at that point, I'm like, I can't be here for long. I'm going to call for a few minutes and then start working my way down. Called for a few minutes, and I was sitting up on this knoll, looking out. I can see quite a ways off to the, I guess that would be to the east there.
Yeah.
And but then I turn around and look behind me, and off in the distance, about 200 yards away, I see just a white patch. Just a white patch that I hadn't noticed before. So I get out my binoculars. I'm like, oh, you don't suppose. I look up, and here's this buck just staring right at me through this tiny little hole in the trees. And I'm like, ooh. That's not good. He's locked on me at this point, and he is in the thicker stuff. I can't see him that well. So I blew on the call a couple more times, see if he'd come in, but he was already locked onto me. He knew I was there. He wasn't coming any closer. So I tried moving around a little bit, trying to get a shot on him. Every time I'd go down, there'd be something covering his vitals. So finally I get up a little high enough to where I can see just the top part of his chest, and he's downhill from me.
Yeah.
So I have a little hole. It's about 8 inches by 8 inches, 8-inch circle that I can shoot through. It's about a 200-yard shot. So I find a good rest, and I shot him, got him right, went into the neck, and went through the chest cavity there, double lunged him, and ended up lodging in the spine. After that, dropped him right there. But then by this time, it was starting to get later. So, due to the adventure that I had the previous day, I said, I'm not packing any deer down today. So what I did is I went ahead and I gutted all 3 of those deer. And then I just hauled down the mountain. I went down as fast as I could and made it just on time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were coming around the corner to pick me up, and I was just before dark when I hit the beach and loaded up and headed home. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that you made it down in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, well, over 1,400 feet. And I made a mark on my Onyx maps coming down. It's because I was going as fast as I could coming down. It took me something like 25 minutes to get down.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is moving.
Yeah. I was flying.
Now this mountain, that area is a lot less thick than like where you got lost.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
You're jumping
exactly.
some trees
you can
but it's
move
not.
quick because it's a little bit more open. And it's,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are
No
some places where it
alders
feels like you're
I
almost
would much
running
rather be
down the
stuck
mountain.
where you ran down there
Absolutely.
in the dark. Than,
Absolutely. And the other thing about that spot too is if you go down, you're gonna, as long as you go downhill, you're gonna end up close enough to the
where you need
pickup
to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
spot.
You'll be at the beach.
The problem with the spot that I was in the day before is you can go down and end up on the other side.
Right,
of the
and because
island
the way
there.
the mountain kind of just does this, the hill
Right.
does this, like you,
Yeah, it's kind of cone
it
shaped.
looks the same here, and here,
Right.
and you can easily just wander off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but the spot, you're exactly right. Like it's more open, and you just go downhill, and you're gonna end up by the boat. But even then, because of the last day and it was getting dark, I said, I'm getting down. I'm getting down from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had gotten your messages and you said, I'm at the very top, just saw 5 deer, killed 3. I'm thinking, oh man,
He's gonna be up there all night.
isn't this just great? It's 2:00. I was supposed to pick you up at like 2:30 because we were going to go do a little bit of fishing. I went and picked up Mo.
Yeah,
And
he tells me, he goes, Remington shot 3, said he saw 5, shot 3, and he's still on the top. And I said, of course he did.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I said was, we might be waiting at the beach for a little while because it's a long way to the top from there. But you were on the beach when I pulled around the corner. I said, are you kidding me? There he is.
You were standing there in your base layers dripping.
Oh, I was sweating
Soaked.
a good bit from then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then by that point, we were all saying the same thing. Even though you had killed as many deer as you had by that point, Tabitha and I had been on a few, and I'd had a few shots that I had just elected to pass on due to just didn't want to damage that much meat, or a deer that we just didn't want to kill.
Right.
Or one that just wouldn't give us a shot, like that monster buck that I still see when I blink. I probably will until I shoot one that big. He was a monster.
I'll see him in your dreams.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I got a little stuck on him there. That night, we all decided, okay, well, somebody needs to go where you were on the first day
Yep.
because that's 1,000 feet, and you had deer running into the call up there. They're not getting hunted up there. Nobody's doing that.
Oh, that's for sure.
Most of the people in this part of the state this time of year want to be cruising the beaches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and smarter, yes. But we all decided, well, we need to go high, and so Mo elected to go where you went on the first day and run up there and try to hunt. And then Tabitha and I said, well, we'll go with you, and even if we don't shoot deer, then at least you have some help packing these 3 off the mountain. But it sounds like we'll be able to kill a deer, and I wanted her to shoot a deer before I did. We got a moose this year. This year was a lot less about us just shooting as many deer as we could because we could have shot a lot more. But I wanted more so for her to shoot one rather than I get a shot on one. So we went up there with you, went up the way that you went up, and it took us a little while. It's a lot of climbing. Luckily, there wasn't much rain that day to speak of. I mean,
It was super hot.
I had my raincoat on for the first 100 yards.
It was misty.
Yeah.
We shedded our coats
And then
pants
all of us at the same
yeah.
time, about 100 yards, maybe 200 yards in, we stopped and we all said, it's too hot for rain gear.
Yeah.
So we just took them off. I just wore a soft shell up and a base
I just wore
layer.
base layers.
And you guys just wore base layers the whole way up.
It was hot.
it's overall it's fairly easy hiking, but it's steep.
It's
You know,
steep.
it's you gain a lot of elevation
And
quick.
that
So
muggy
yeah, it was-
humidity, you just sweat like
Yeah.
a pig. I mean, you're just pouring sweat in that temperature and that
It's
humidity
crazy
level.
because it's like 50 degrees, right?
Yeah.
If this was Fairbanks and it was 50 degrees,
It's a cool summer day.
Yeah.
you could do the same amount of work
Yeah, with a lot less
with,
sweat.
with a lot
Yeah.
more clothes on.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we ended up going up there. You were wearing probably the best shoes of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wearing Kinatrek pack boots.
Yeah. So they
Yeah.
have that leather upper and like it's a pack boot and it's got that rubber. It's like an old LL Bean style of boot, I guess, for folks that might not know what a pack boot is. And then Tabitha had on lacrosse knee highs,
Thick, warm
1,600 gram insulation.
for our
lacrosse.
cold winter hunt.
Yeah. For that cold 50
That
degree.
cold 50-degree boat
December
beach hunting.
hunt.
Yeah.
Normally that are
Thick
great
socks.
for single digit boat
Yeah.
hunting down here
Right.
this time of year.
I wished I had something like that last year.
Yeah.
See?
I was wishing I had those
single-digit
last
day?
year.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first year I came down, I did hiking boots, and I was like, my feet froze.
Yeah.
Froze.
And I wore my hip boots,
Yep.
Yes, you did.
my lacrosse hip waders, because I thought, well, I've got this super long cut, it's almost down to my knees.
Bougie
It's-
trench coat.
It's the Sitka Kodiak jacket,
Yeah.
which I love. But I like it because I can wear it with hip boots and get away with not having to wear rain pants all the time.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if I can hike in hip boots and my trench coat and not have to wear rain pants, then I can have my pants have the vents unzipped, and so I'll breathe a little bit.
Quick question: would you call that or could I call that a Sitka dress?
One could call it that.
A
Yeah,
Sitka
that's what it
dress.
is.
You
from
could. It
now
has a
on.
nice
I-
slit
Should
down
we
the
just
front.
should we just
That is
call
the
it a
Sitka
Sitka
dress.
dress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Dalton
Dalton
was
wears
wearing-
Sitka dresses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's pretty
Well,
cute.
And it's
I like that.
camouflage.
I like
it is
that.
camo. Yeah.
Super camouflage. Which actually, that camo is really good down here when it's
it's
green.
very
yeah,
good.
especially those
It's
muskegs.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you fit
great.
right in, yeah.
Oh yeah, those deer don't even see you coming.
No,
Well,
especially when you're in a dress.
all they see is the legs.
That's why that big
So as
buck
long as you
came in.
as long as you can keep the legs
Well,
covered.
Yeah.
and the legs are the
Yeah.
green hip boots, so it's just two
Oh, yeah.
sticks.
Yeah,
Yep.
just a couple of sticks.
Yeah, and then they just see
Maybe we
a
should
rifle.
all maybe we should all wear
We should
dresses,
all wear dresses.
hunting
Maybe
more
we should.
often.
You should. It's a
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
Big
hiked
game
up there in
changer.
hip boots.
yeah.
I
was getting
would not
blisters.
recommend. I would not recommend it.
This is Dalton Gray urging you to never go hiking in lacrosse hip boots.
Well,
Or just
see,
hip boots in general.
I've worn hip boots for so many miles, and so have you doing other stuff, spring bear hunting.
Oh,
And
I know exactly how it is.
we have covered so many miles
it's
in
that
hip
climbing
boots.
though, isn't
It's
it?
not
But-
elevation.
but climbing?
Yeah.
And once your
different.
feet start
Yeah.
sweating, and then you
Yeah.
get rain coming down the boots, and
Well,
your
and that's the
socks
thing.
are wet enough to wring out,
It's
and then
not
your
just
foot's
your feet.
sliding around.
Yeah, you're
Your
sweating
ankles.
from the thighs down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that starts pooling.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. When
And
I got
there's
them
no-
back here, I might as well have just soaked them in the salt
Oh,
water.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were that wet.
And there's
Yeah.
no ankle support. There's no
Oh, no.
rigidity in the boot to climb.
And the sole, my outsole is little rubber dots.
Yeah.
So I didn't have real great traction.
Well, I did see. I thought you were a pro skier when I was, turned around and watched you come down the mountain. The way
Couple
you were
times.
you were just going back and forth. I saw you doing pizza slices at one point,
I
trying
think
to
that's
stop
called a
yourself coming
slalom.
down. Okay, yeah.
And that,
You really had the pizza slices down coming down.
Well, he had a lot of weight on
worked
his
well.
back, so
Yeah.
just pushed him right down the hill.
so anyway,
If you had some ski poles, you really could have. You really
I
could have
wouldn't
made
have
I
that
was
look
wishing
good.
I had trekking
oh
poles.
no,
So
absolutely not. I would have not wanted trekking poles on that hill.
I wanted
I would
trekking
have
poles.
broke them like
Really?
that.
You think so?
I was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
wishing I had my black diamond ice axe though.
Yeah. And micro spikes.
That would have been real nice.
No.
I mean, if we're being honest, I was wishing I had my sheep hunting boots
Yeah.
and Cthulhu micro spikes, which I left at home with
And
my sheep
Pete's
hunting
gators.
boots, and a set of gators
Yep.
and an ice axe.
So
and,
how
and
wet is that muskeg up there? Because most of the muskeg I've been tromping through the last several days.
It ain't bad.
There's lots of ponds. Lots
Any
of little...
any hiking boot or hunting boot, you're gonna get wet feet.
No.
No.
No,
You'd have
so
been
really,
fine.
so it's
You
pretty
could
dry.
walk around
Yeah.
any of
Really?
the deep
Okay.
water.
Yeah,
Oh,
you could get around any of the water up
Yep.
there. Absolutely. So we got to the top. Well, we got to the first deer, looked at it. There was a marten messing with the gut pile,
Yeah.
but nothing had been on the deer. That's the other thing, too, is we've seen a number of brown bears down here, deer hunting over the years,
Mm-hmm.
but we've never had any real problems with them getting deer. I think the only one that we ever had get a carcass quickly was 2017 when I was down here with the other guy. We shot 2 way up the creek that you were up today, probably 3/4 of a way to the Y. And it was approaching darkness. It was, getting late enough. And we thought, well, rather than quarter them, we'll just tie them both onto a pole. And we'll just carry them in between us on a pole all the way back out to the beach. Not great. We made it about 50 yards. Oh yeah, we gutted them. Made it about 50 yards and realized that we couldn't carry 2 of them at once. No. So we took one of them, which at this point we're both wondering, how come we didn't just quarter these things out?
Yeah, by that time.
It was our first year killing deer. So anyway, so we got one deer out. And when we got back to the second one to pack it out on the pole, the guts were gone from both of them, like swiped and gone. And the other deer carcass is still laying there. And there was like fresh bear tracks right in the trail. I'm thinking, we got to go. There's a brown bear real close to here. So we quick tied that one on the pole and started jogging down the trail.
Was that the next day or in the dark?
No, that was the same day we were coming out to the boat. Almost at the dark. Yeah, we barely
So where did you quarter
out.
those deer? At camp?
Here.
Really?
You just threw them in the boat and came back?
Yep. Threw them in the little boat.
So you jogged
Why?
out.
Yeah. Because we were young and dumb, and
inexperienced.
that was our first time
I drug a few
killing
deer out this year, but they weren't that far out.
Nope.
You should have put them on a pole. It would have been easier.
Yeah. By yourself.
Yeah.
I did.
Just carry it on your shoulders.
I did.
You just built a little stretcher and just drug them out.
One of the little ones I shot, because I shot 2 little ones in one day within like an hour of each other.
Yeah.
And one of them was on my way out. And
which, by the way, that spot is now named Moe's Meadows.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yep. He's killed the most deer.
I christened the Moe's Meadows.
Classic.
Anyway, we'll keep it right here.
I'll kill another one there tomorrow.
There
or
you go.
2.
Yeah, last day.
Yeah.
2 tags left.
But I was in there, shot the one. It was the second deer I'd seen, and this is my first experience not hunting in the woods in the brush, but the first time ever jumping a deer in the brush. I'd never seen a deer while I was in the woods before because we'd always beach hunted since I'd been here.
Sure.
And so I get out of a muskeg and I stop for a moment and I'm doing the deer.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, AR on the sling, it was just boom.
Total operator style.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And
cleared those woods right out.
Just boom. And she just, dropped. And
did you say clear? As soon as it dropped?
Cleared hot.
That's awesome.
You better say that on the next deer that you kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should start saying
and then
that.
say clear.
You should start saying that like every time you shoot something. Kaboom.
Yeah.
Clear.
Mission deer engaged.
Danger close now.
Yeah.
I guarantee the other deer around that muskeg watch that go down and that's Jason Bourne.
You're going to have to put a picture of yourself up. I think I have a few of
Did
you
you take
walking
some
on the
of me?
beach. I might.
I
I'll have to look.
I wanted to have somebody do it because I either look like an idiot or I look cool. I don't know which. I thought about bringing sunglasses.
Definitely the idiot one.
Should have brought sunglasses.
I thought about bringing sunglasses.
If I don't have one, I'll take one of you tomorrow. We'll put it up.
Funny.
But anyway, so I shoot the one and I walk up to it and it's a small deer. It's not the smallest one I've shot down here.
Yeah.
That little one I beaned last year
We've all done that.
was the smallest one. But I walked it was like, okay, this is a small deer. But I quarter her out because a little doe and there's no reason. I got time at this point, so I quarter it out. Quarter it out, put it on my pack. Not hardly any. Not that much weight. And I'm working my way back down through some muskegs, a different way than I came in. Every time I've gone in there, I've texted you, all right, I'm out at this location because, you've got a few hundred yards of beach and I've come out at a different spot every time. And, a lot of territory to cover in there. But I'm working my way out through another muskeg and there's this kind of a gorge, but it's kind of rolling.
Yep.
Not too bad, kind of open. And I stop and I see movement in between 2 trees. Couple trees and some logs, and sure enough, there's another deer. And I'm thinking, I don't want to shoot another tiny one.
Yeah.
And so I wait and it kind of steps forward, and I'm like, it's a little bigger.
Well, and you're just meat hunting at this point
right,
still.
I was just meat hunting. This is the at this point, I just killed my second deer. We've got 6 tags.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And you had a little buck that was a
and
big
for my
body.
experience in hunting in the woods, these are the most deer I've seen in the woods. So I'm going to shoot them. And like I said, if it was tiny as the
He
first
likes
one,
to shoot. He loves to shoot.
He loves to shoot.
One thing about Mo,
That guy loves to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, that rifle just fits your hand so well.
It really does. Yeah.
and you guys,
Totally threw him off.
Oh yeah, we got you. I told you this would happen if we
I
ever
knew
had
it would
Remi
happen.
on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it
I
happened. It's
told
all right.
you.
It's all right.
The ganging up has
You
begun.
got to remember who edits this.
Yeah, well,
Don't edit out the good parts, man.
Right. I know. I've always known I'm easy to make fun of, and I just put up with it. So,
yeah, well,
hey, somebody's
You
got
haven't learned to make
to
fun
laugh
back
at
yet.
some
I
point.
mean, come on.
yeah.
I'm just not that quick, you know.
Mo,
At least I
it's
can
true.
shoot
No.
quickly.
It's true. He can shoot.
Mo, even the toughest of operators can cry. It's okay. It's okay to let it out.
Well, I almost did on that first deer. So, but anyhow,
Finish your
So-
story.
he pokes his head out, and I didn't, really realize the time because it was so small. It was a little button buck,
Yeah.
and so, took the shot I had, which
Clear.
which was a quartering chest shot. Chest, lungs, heart. Hit the took out a shoulder, and
Oh, did you on that one?
yeah, I basically
Oh, okay.
ruined the shoulder on that one. That was that little one
Oh,
that we
yeah.
skinned here. It was bigger than the first one for sure,
Right,
but.
right. So you drug that one down.
But
the
that
beach.
one I gutted, and I was just like, I don't want to cut up another little tiny deer. That's a pain in the butt
Yeah.
to cut up a little tiny deer. So
Yeah.
I brought it to where,
And
camp
we've
where
got
we
a
could
nice,
hang it.
got a nice meat
And
pull
I
here.
was a few hundred yards into the trees there, and
Yeah.
so I just start dragging it down this creek area, trying to stay kind of high. But I ended up at the end, the last 50 yards, like in the bottom of this gorge with logs, and I'm like crawling under logs and like the
Dragging a deer.
stupid little deer. Right, I can
It's
hold
like your dog's on a leash.
I can hold 2 hooves in one hand between 3 fingers, just pinching it, and I'm just dragging it like that. And
You didn't just go up to a log and just throw it over
You
and
should have.
go under it.
Tie it around your waist like a fanny pack.
but so I'm like just trying to keep my feet dry and
Right.
in this gorge, this creek anyway. And that's where I found my way out, and of course I get out,
Yeah.
but then it's where the inlet or where the creek kind of comes in, and it's high tide. So I now have to
Gets deep.
I thought I was out because I could see water through the trees, but no, now I have to work back around another 100 yards. But anyway,
Still dragging your deer.
still dragging the deer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was easy haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we got up to the Great Climb with you
That's
following the day
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
shot all yours. And so we got to your first deer, found the marten, got some cool footage of that marten.
Yeah.
It was a
He's
nice
cute,
little marten.
yeah.
Cute little rascal.
Yeah.
He kept
that was-
looking at us,
that was
checking
a
us
cool
out.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was worried we were going to take his kill.
Yeah.
Probably
He
so.
thought he killed that
Yeah.
deer, and
Yeah.
he was
That
worried.
marten was big enough. I mean, if he had a little more body size to him, he'd be deer hunting
He'd
too.
be taking down deer.
Yeah. I think he probably would. I mean, he was like a small river otter
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
That's-
It kind of makes me want to bring the conibears down
Yeah.
here and do a little bit of trapping.
I saw a river otter today.
Did you?
Could have
We
shot
saw
it.
like 5 there at
No, I had one on the trail in front of me.
today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we've seen a few in there
You and
over
me
the
have
years.
seen
Yeah.
a few in there on
Yeah.
the trail. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And every single time it'll make you pucker when they come running out. Because
Yeah.
they're big enough to sound like something, something big,
Yeah.
but you don't see them because they're so
They're
low
so
to the
little.
ground. So you hear this crunch, 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 crunch. And then you're looking around and you can't see crap. And then all of a sudden, a little river otter pops out and you're like, oh, that was anticlimactic. I
Yeah.
feel like a big wimp now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pull your phone out and try to take a video before they run
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. So we got up to your first deer, and then I think we kept the track
kept
going,
going, yeah.
because I had run a track all the way up that trail because we went up the same way that you went up the day before, which is relatively uneventful.
Yeah.
Got up there, got to your second deer, checked that it was okay, got up to the top, broke into the muskeg, and my jaw just,
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
are you
Incredible.
kidding me? This is up
Yeah.
here all this time? But now
Yeah.
obviously I know why we don't always go up there, because normally we don't have to.
Right.
But kind of fun to have done it.
It was
It
cool.
was.
It was beautiful
It
up there.
was.
Yeah, and it's great that you did all the hard work the day before and found a good
Found the
way up
trail.
there.
Well, I mean, yeah, same thing for like Mo on this island here. I mean, I'm pretty much the guinea pig at this point.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you did
which
great.
which is okay.
It's too bad you're not staying another day. We'd send you somewhere tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Where's
Remi,
the
go
next
check this place
gnarly
out for
mountain I
us.
can
Yeah,
climb?
well,
yeah.
Remington is like the reconnaissance crew before
Right.
we send in the operator.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Remington gets back with a deer and goes like, send him in. So Tabitha and I got up there. We verified
still
that all,
with us,
yeah,
yeah.
all three of the deer were fine. Gutted in good shape. No, problems with bears being on them. While you were still with us, we made one quick set, called for 5 minutes or so. Didn't see anything. The fog was kind of rolling in and out. It wasn't really raining. I had my raincoat back on at that point just because we were out of the trees.
Well, you needed something warm because
Yeah,
you were so
yeah,
wet
now
from
you're soaked
sweat,
in
and
sweat,
then it's a little breezy.
and then you're on the
so,
top, and there's
yeah.
a small breeze, and so you put on your raincoat, kind of block that, and try to dry off a little bit from your own heat.
Yeah.
So at that point, we left you behind, and then you said, "All right, I got 3 deer to clean out and get in my pack. I'll meet you back down at the first doe when you're done." So now I'm like starting the stopwatch.
We only had
Yeah.
an hour
By
and
that
a
time,
half.
it was what, 12:30?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so
Maybe.
Tabitha and I kept going to the east, kind of followed that ridge a little bit. We made it a little ways from you, I think, 2 knobs over to where we could see the next big clearing in front of us. And I blew on the call in 30 seconds.
Doe pops up.
This doe's head just pops up above the bushes, looking at us like 80 yards away.
Yeah.
And so hey, there's a deer right there. And she couldn't see
I
it
didn't see it right away.
because there was a tree
right
from
there.
her angle that was blocking the deer. And so I thought, I don't want it to get away. We're getting the last few days. I guess if I have to shoot it, I'll just shoot it. It was a fully mature doe. It was a big doe. I pulled the rifle up, had it in the scope. She plugged her ears.
He's got this big muzzle brake on his rifle. Man, it's loud.
In my mind, I'm thinking she'll have her gun up that way in case it walks over here. I still have the call in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I got my rifle up just in case she didn't get a shot at
no,
it.
I'm just standing there waiting.
So she plugged her ears.
I'm like,
so then I'm
it's taking you so
whispering.
long.
I blew the call again, and it kept on coming. So I'm thinking she'll get a shot at this thing. And so I'm saying, go ahead and shoot it. I don't hear anything. She's not moving. I'm looking over, and she's not moving. Her gun's under her arm, and her fingers are in her ears. So I finally turned my head. I was like, get your gun. And I'm trying to talk with the deer call in my mouth.
I think all I heard was, are you going to shoot it? And I went, oh, okay.
And so it came in another 30 or 40
Oh,
yards.
it came so close.
It came into probably 35 or 40 yards
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And then it started walking broadside, just looking at us. Because I
came-
was in that camo dress.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't argue with the
set your
results.
Can't
Yeah.
argue with
no,
it.
no,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
One thing about you, you're not much to look at, but you know how to dress.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much to look at.
He dresses
not
to
real
impress,
pretty.
and he shows up and he kills deer.
He kills deer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well.
He puts me on good deer to kill too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And so that deer
but
ended
not
up.
much to look at.
No, not
Yeah.
much to
No,
look
no.
at. Stressed on that. That's why, podcasts
heart,
are
though.
largely in audio format.
Right.
However-
I've got a face for radio. However, if you're listening to this and you want to see some photos of our trip and a couple of short video
Yeah.
clips, perhaps, you can go watch us on YouTube
Yeah.
at the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast YouTube
correct.
channel.
Hopefully, you'll
Yep.
post a picture of the Sitka dress.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
lots of pictures of you in
We've
the
got
Sitka
a few.
dress.
There'll be
Good.
plenty of
I
pictures
really like that
in this video.
That dress. Yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
So that deer ended up giving her a good broadside shot.
Yeah.
It was slightly quartering too, and so
Yeah.
she ended up shooting it.
Well, it kept going behind all these trees, and I could see it in between, and it'd go behind trees. So I'm just following it, sidestepping, and I can hear him shoot it.
Because from my angle, there's nothing in sight. I just got a
She
wide
kept
open.
stepping behind trees, but she stepped out in the open, and I put it on the shoulder, and
Yeah,
perfect
you
shot.
hit it right behind the
Right
shoulder,
behind the shoulder,
quartering
yeah,
too. So
yeah.
she hit it perfect.
It was
Didn't
quartering
destroy-
more than I thought.
Yeah,
but
it didn't destroy any meat at all.
No.
It went in right behind the shoulder. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously rib meat, but
Yeah.
there's not much there
Not much there on a deer.
to lose. But we got what we could, but there wasn't
Yeah.
much. So he shot it right behind the shoulder, and then it came out right at the back of the ribs.
Yep,
And so
that was
double lunged it. It made a couple of hops,
Yep.
20 yards
Yep.
and piled up. And so we just walked up on it. I looked at it, and I'm looking at all this muskeg going, we're going to
Let's
keep on going.
Yeah.
So
Well,
put a pin on the old map and kept
Yeah.
on walking.
One thing I'd never done before either. I didn't have sticks. It was offhand. It was close, but my water bottle, my initial ascent backpack has this nice little water bottle pouch, and I'd kind of practice. I'd stuck my elbow for a rest, and it was perfect. Like I used it. I didn't even think about it, but that little rest where my elbow sat there, it made a difference. It was
You're no operator
was perfect.
Like Mo, but
no, but I got my water bottle rest. Yeah,
you made a good shot.
it was a
Yeah.
good shot. I didn't ruin any meat.
Yeah. No meat loss.
No meat loss.
Yeah. She's shooting the old .6.
Yeah,
The old
that's good.
dirty 30.
Yeah. Call it
But
that.
we went over the hill again. And at this point, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, we are a long ways up here now.
Crunch time.
And we have one deer to clean. I'm looking at my watch.
Remington has 3.
Remington has 3, and I'm sure
They're
he's
all
not done
stiff.
with them yet. And we got a long ways to go down, and I don't want to do this in the dark. I mean, I would do it in the dark with you, but I didn't want to do it in the dark and have her along with us.
Yeah.
There's just certain things that you think about when you have your wife or one of your kids hunting or somebody else's kid. There's other things that, okay, if I was just me and Remi or me and Mo, we'd push it and we'd be up here till 2 o'clock and we just figure it out because we know the way down.
I
But-
kept pushing you to shoot a deer, though. I kind of was like,
Yeah,
we're here,
so
let's do it.
We ended up seeing several more deer.
Yeah.
And one of the does, multiple times. I'd see her multiple times. We came over the hill, and right as I'm cresting
Popping
over
up.
this little hill, I see a nose and ears sticking up over the skyline. So I'm gun up right on the forehead, and I'm looking, and it's just a doe. We're a long ways up here. It's just a doe. And then
We
she turned
already
around
had
and
one
walked
cut
away.
up.
She blew, turned around, hopped off the white,
Yep.
the little white rear end on those things hopping over the hill. So I walk another 20 yards up. There's another one. There's another one. They looking at me, and I'm looking
I'm
this
just
way.
waiting for him to
looking
shoot. I'm
this
still
way,
standing back there
looking
like
this
this.
way, and I'm thinking,
I'm going, shoot.
Yeah, I wanted to shoot a buck.
Right.
I thought if I'm going to shoot another deer and put us in this situation, it needs to be a nice
Needs to be
buck.
worth it.
No.
And I didn't see
You
that.
didn't shoot that doe after it blew at you, though. I mean, that's personal.
Yeah, I mean,
She didn't like your dress.
Yeah, she didn't like the dress.
Yeah.
That's personal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was
I-
basically saying you have
Yeah.
bad taste in clothing, which
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
knows that's not true. We've already established that. But anyway, so we saw several more deer, called on a couple of more, covered probably another quarter, maybe half a mile past where we shot that
Just
first
slow
one.
walking those muskets.
Yeah, just creeping your way through, and the fog and the low rain would roll over the hill, and you wouldn't be able to see more than 50 yards. And then 5 minutes later,
Yeah.
it would blow clean,
Well,
and
and
you could see
soaking-
all the mountains around.
Soaking it
and-
all in too. Every time it cleared out, I'd pull out my phone and snap a picture because the fog was rolling
Yeah.
in. But I wished we could spend hours up there.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
just couldn't take
Beautiful.
it all in.
So last
Beautiful.
year in August, Tabitha and I went and did an alpine fly-in hunt
Right.
down in this general area with Ryan Lampers and his daughter
I'm just camera guy.
and Kayam, the camera
Yeah.
guy. And we shot, I think, 7,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 2,
Two, four,
4,
six.
5, 6, yeah, 7.
Seven.
7 deer, all bucks.
In
It's
like
buck
3
only that
days.
early. It was early August. Yeah, and it was like I think it was 4 days. And it was all sunshine, all rainbows. It was beautiful. That'll never happen again.
All big bucks, all really
Yeah.
nice bucks.
All nice
Oh,
deer.
yeah.
And you could be picky. I mean,
Oh yeah, we passed on a bunch.
it was great. I mean, we easily saw upwards of 100 deer. It was incredible.
We could have
But-
filled all of our tags, but
Easily. However,
that's a lot of weight in the airplane.
Yeah.
However, that being the benchmark for like the most deer I've ever seen in one concentrated area, the top of Squirrel Mountain up there
Is second.
has to have been the next
Yeah.
best
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
It was incredible.
for like
It
just the
was.
density,
Yeah.
the just the sheer quantity of deer hanging out up there right now. But again, it's because there's no snow.
Mm-hmm.
It's stinking warm out. The main push of the rut is over, and so a lot of the deer are just going back up the hill because
normally
that's
do.
just what
Yeah.
they do.
It's easy. There's
Yeah.
lots of food,
Yeah.
and it's an easy
Yeah.
spot for them.
And nobody's going to
Yeah.
shoot at them up there.
No.
Plot
And,
twist.
until
Well,
we got there.
We
Right.
did.
Yeah.
And there was like one set of bear tracks.
Yeah. We did
One
see a fresh
set.
bear track up there in the muskeg.
But it was small.
Little squeaker, a little
Yeah.
probably 6.5 foot brown bear, nothing to speak of.
The type that you challenge to a wrestling match if you see
Yeah,
just a
it'd be a
six-footer.
slight
It's a knife
challenge.
fight.
You might have
Yeah.
to take your dress off for that one, but
You might.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
you could take him.
I had my
could take
knife
'em.
on my shoulder strap in my backpack.
Yeah.
I was ready for him.
You just
Yeah.
want to make
You-
sure
you
you got
coulda
enough
taken
room
him.
to wrestle
Oh, yeah,
and get
100%.
your arms
Yeah,
around his
yeah.
neck.
Yeah, John Cena style.
Yep.
Right. Once
Anyway.
the arms around the neck, it's over for him. Yeah.
I mean, you can
got him.
always just shove a glove down the mouth,
Right.
choke
Yep.
him out,
That works
Right.
too.
get him to tap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we shot that deer, moved our way around. I passed on several of them. We came back to hers, ripped it apart in
So
about
fast.
10, maybe 15 minutes. I mean, I was flying through that deer.
I'm just holding the hose and I can't
But it was
keep up.
nice because
That helps a lot.
Oh, yeah.
it does. It
Yeah.
really does help having a
I'd
second
say
person.
we can take a deer apart really fast, but he's doing all the knife work. I'm just holding
Yeah,
things
I'm
out of the
handing
way.
her like, all right, hold this one.
So at any point
It's
with
quick.
the speed of this guy using knives and the dress, did he ever look like a hibachi chef? Did you
Yeah.
ever
A
think
little
those
bit.
thoughts?
A
Yeah.
little bit. It got a little
Okay.
scary sometimes. Yeah.
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 Just got a little
I bet.
insight in there.
A part of the speed that I think developed with taking animals apart is making the noises with your mouth,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like making the swish noises
Yeah.
as the knife
Yeah.
is
The swish and the zip.
Yep.
zip,
Yep.
zip, zip,
Yeah.
zip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he can focus because I'm, watching
Yeah.
for
A-
a big buck or a
right.
bear.
And that's what I
or-
was telling her, and that's how
And
we
that's
do it.
kind of
you
what
know?
we do. Yeah.
If we got a moose down, same thing. I'm working, I got my head down, and
Yeah.
she's watching and holding a leg, and yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
just like that. It
Two
sounds
knives
very
on
much
an
like
animal can be you end up hurting yourself
Yeah,
or,
you
or
end
your
up-
partner more
end-
than
that. Or you end up
you go
cutting your
fast.
dress. And
Yeah,
that's
you don't
no
want
fun.
that.
Yeah.
And then nobody's watching for bears. And,
Right, and I kind of wanted to see if there was a big buck around.
oh,
But-
I would have shot it. I wouldn't have told you. I would have
Yeah.
just grabbed my gun and shot it because you were focused on the deer.
Well, we'll pick back up here in a second. We'll take a quick break. We packed up Tabitha's deer, headed over, and you had gotten 2 of your deer done.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
sent me a message and said, I'll be at the second deer. And so
Just
instantly I'm
finishing
going,
up. Yeah.
we got one more deer to cut up then. So we raced down to you. And at that point, I took off my raincoat because I knew we're about to start doing some serious
Take off your
work.
dress.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, took
Take
off
your
my
dress.
You
dress.
can't call it a raincoat anymore. Yeah.
Oh boy. This is going to stick now.
It
Is this almost like Dalton in drag? Kind of the intro.
Oh, no.
No,
Hunter in
we
drag.
don't go there.
No. Absolutely not.
Well, you did say at one point when we were on the boat, you said
No,
my
you-
skirt kept flying up, and I kind of thought,
Well,
wow,
yeah,
I've never heard my husband say that before.
So we'll keep it right here. We get down to Remi's last deer, which was the first one that you had shot. This one's what, a couple 100 feet down
Yeah.
from the muskeg.
So we climbed down a little bit.
So we went down a little ways, easy trail there, ripped that deer apart.
Yep.
I scarfed down my sandwich. I hadn't eaten anything all day.
Yeah.
Yep, I
So
helped Remington cut up the deer.
I dropped my pack and I said, all right, I'll help you in a minute, but I need to eat something. So I ate, I think, a Snickers, a Cliff Bar. Blah.
Sandwich.
I really hate
Was it one of
Cliff.
those kids Cliff Bars?
Yeah.
Those
I really
Z-bars
hate
are
Cliff.
better than the adult Cliff
Yeah.
bars.
The
but
Z-bars are better.
Some of them are.
I
Well,
love the
I
oatmeal
don't know.
cookie ones. They're my favorite.
Yeah,
I've
see,
had
I-
some of them that I didn't. Some of the anyway. You know,
Anyway,
it's the
I
whole
ate,
thing.
I ate a Snickers
It's
though, which
food.
was nice. And then I ate my lunch meat sandwich, pounded some water, and then I helped him cut up the last of his deer. You stuck yourself in the thumb.
He did, so he had to go clean his
I
cut.
You
stabbed my
were
thumb.
so fast.
Well, I
Cutting off
was
that
trying to be
last
hibachi
backstrap.
like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was going full on.
Oh yeah.
Well,
on
at that
deer.
point, we were kind of racing the clock
Yeah.
because
Well,
it was
in that thick trees,
It
it
was
was already
out,
getting
because
dark.
we had to pick up Mo because we had the boat.
Yep. And it was after 2:00.
No,
It was after-
he
yeah.
was
No,
on. He
no,
was on this
wasn't-
camp
Yeah.
island,
Yeah.
so we didn't have to
Oh,
pick
he
him
was.
up.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was just going to be dark.
But
Yeah.
he had
Okay.
no way to rescue us, so
No, I was going to sit
he
here
was
and
stuck.
watch movies. I guess, wondering when
Yeah.
you're going to show up. Probably would have gone to bed.
and eat all the good snacks.
Hope they're exactly.
Eat all my
He would have.
Snickers.
He would have ate
Yeah.
all the Snickers.
So,
he wouldn't have even made dinner for himself.
so we got that last deer taken
No, I
apart.
definitely would have.
You taped up your thumb,
Yeah.
which looks great, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's
All the way
doing
to the
really
bone.
good. All the way to the bone. It still aches a little bit, but
Yeah,
It's not swelling?
You only got a
it's
little bit
swelled
of.
a little bit, but
Not enough to worry.
yeah, no, not enough to worry too
He
bad.
only got a
Not
little
yet,
bit of
anyway.
blood poisoning.
Yeah, just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So then we climbed down.
Yep. He had a
Um,
deer. I had a deer. You had two.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she took
We
the
all
last
took-
deer in her
Right. She
pack.
packed one of mine, which was
Yep.
I
lovely.
had her deer on my load shelf, and then you had your buck and then your second doe in your pack.
Right.
And so we started down the great slip and slide
It was a slip and slide.
in hip boots.
I put my rain pants on because I knew that I was going to sit on my butt a lot and just go for it. And if I had my rain pants on, I'd slide better.
Correction, you had on my good
did.
rain pants.
Thank you.
Hence the reason
They've
that
been
you were in hip
wonderful.
boots. Yes.
Great. Very
Because
great.
my rain pants leaked on day one. So
So she wore my spare rain
since
pants.
he had a dress, he didn't need his rain pants.
Yeah,
He wore
basically.
his spare
Right,
rain
yeah.
pants. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we slipped and slid our way all the way down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we got down to the last 300 yards from the salt before I finally said, all right, get out a headlamp.
Well,
I can't see anything.
Both of our glasses fog up bad when there's
Yeah.
no air. And so I took mine off because I can see okay without them. But when it was dark, I couldn't even keep my eyes on you going through the woods. And I was
You don't
kinda-
want me to not have glasses coming off that hill.
Yeah, he could. Yeah.
It would have been like Ray Charles goes mountain climbing. It would have been really,
Yeah.
really bad. Especially in the almost dark under that thick canopy. I would have just been in no man's
But
land.
more like Helen Keller due to the dress.
Oh,
Goes deer hunting. Yeah. We'll call it like that. Plus you were making some strange noises, so
There was a lot of strange noises
yeah.
every time
Well,
somebody
wow.
slipped.
More I could say about that, but I won't.
that escalated quickly. I'll
That
be
got
honest
out of
with you,
hand fast.
that got out of hand fast.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. But
Anyway.
I put a dim light on.
Yeah.
So
So,
I
she
could see the
she had
trail
her
in front of
headlamp
me.
in the
Which
lid
was
of
not
her
red.
pack.
Nope.
No, not
Which
red.
is notable.
It
And-
has red.
It's
By the
notable.
way,
Right.
give my good headlamp back before you leave, because I loaned you one of my headlamps that I brought down here.
You
So
did.
Yep.
I want that
Yes.
back.
Yep.
Okay.
But I put
Otherwise,
it
I'm
on
gonna-
dim. And he
Otherwise-
was behind me, so we could both kind of.
Yeah.
Because he was gone. He was like, phew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
At
can
that
see
point,
the boat from here.
I was like a horse headed for the barn.
was.
Exactly.
I could see the water, so I said,
Yep.
best of luck to you guys.
Yep.
And
He
It
didn't want to
was.
get stuck up there in the dark.
yeah. That last 200 yards. I'm not doing this again, man. I
I
can't
don't
go
care if
back.
I'm not
I started
alone.
having flashbacks.
What time was
yeah.
this? What time approximately?
Like
3:15,
Yeah.
Well, it had to be
3:30,
later
We
than
didn't leave
3:45.
your last year until 2:45, and we said it's going to be dark, dark, and 45
It was
minutes.
probably
let's go.
3:30.
But we
Okay,
made
so I was
good time.
when you guys
Yeah.
got to the boat. I was still working my way down. a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, so we really didn't need a headlamp
Yeah.
to get
back
down
to
there,
camp, yeah.
to get back to camp. So
Yeah.
anyway, made it down there, had a great day, recovered your 3 deer successfully,
Added
Nothing.
another one.
and
Yeah.
Tabitha
And
got
Tabitha
her
was
deer,
there.
so that was a relief to me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that was fun. That was the first
It
deer
was.
that you ever got to shoot that was coming into the call.
I was thinking about that. The first 2 deer that we shot together, technically, I think came into the call. We were calling and they snuck up on us and they took off and we called again and they came back. But
It wasn't the same kind
It
of
wasn't the same-
situation.
no,
though.
it wasn't the
that
same
was
kind
kind
of
of a
situation.
recovery by calling.
yeah.
Because-
now we had
Yeah.
been calling, so that might
Because
have drawn them in.
They
but-
walked in within 15 feet of us.
Oh no, closer than that. They were right there.
And then they took off, and then I blew the call, and they came back, and we shot them.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
but-
wasn't the same type of
But
thing.
not
It was
like
the first
calling
one that
in a deer-
actually
Right.
responded, and
Right.
I got to watch it. I mean, kind of like moose hunting. You just watch it walk and come into the call, and you
Except
just
a
wait
lot
for your
lighter pack
shot.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
A lot quicker
Right.
maturing
Well,
process.
let's work overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then after that, boy,
We came back to the
yeah.
camp.
So you had shot a deer that day.
Yep.
You had climbed
Yep.
up to the first great climb that he had made on day
Yeah.
one.
He had his maps. He
Big
had his
island here.
light.
Should we
Yeah.
call that Lost Hill
Maybe
Yeah.
or
That's a
Lost
good
Mountain?
idea.
Lost Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mountain just makes it sound better.
Yeah.
Lost Mountain.
Or Red Light Hill.
Oh,
That's a good one.
yeah.
That's the red light district.
I thought that, and I
Yeah.
said, I'm not going to mention that, but
yeah.
Well, you know,
we,
That's-
we can call it the
mentioned.
Red Light District.
Yep.
Yeah.
it just seems like a great name. you
I'm
know?
thinking about like Red Light Mountain.
Red Light
Light
Mountain.
Mountain.
Red Light
We
Mountain.
can, we can do that.
I think that'll stick. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Publicly, Red Light Mountain.
You heard it here
There you
first,
go.
folks.
Amongst
Red
us,
Light Mountain.
Red Light
Red
District.
Light Mountain.
All
Yep.
right.
Right
So
in
I,
between.
I climbed Red Light Mountain.
Yeah.
In the daylight with white lights.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I mean,
Didn't need white lights.
He
It was
didn't need
daytime.
them.
yeah.
He went up and down like a normal.
You would.
Well, actually, on that note, I didn't leave camp for some reasons as early as I
Yeah.
wanted to. It took me about an hour later.
We all
So I
got
ended
a
up
late
leaving-
start that day.
I ended up leaving camp by 9 instead of 8.
Yeah, because we started hiking at
I was going to
9:30.
start hiking about 8, and I ended up I
Yeah.
didn't leave till 9.
Yeah.
Worked my way up and I was a good portion of the way up, 75%, when I was thinking, I don't know if I want to pack a deer down this,
Mm.
but I didn't do all this work for nothing.
For nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what I realized
That's the
on my-
operator
Well,
talking.
more
there.
like
Right.
more like I didn't do all that work for nothing. That would have been kind of dishonoring to my
To the
to
mountain.
my to
well, and there's
my
also the part like, well, if
previous
Remington
trip.
can come do this, then I have to be able to do it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm the operator, so.
yeah.
the
Well,
only
and
good
you
day
did
was
it true
yesterday.
operator style. I mean, you went up, you came down. It was quick. It was very
You
efficient.
got in.
Well
You
done.
killed. You got out.
Got out.
Yeah,
That's right.
I was
Before
well done.
dark.
That's right. Did it
Followed
without
the
a QRF?
trail. Didn't get lost.
Yeah.
You didn't need an extraction team.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yep.
Didn't hurt yourself. So anyway, you get up there to that muskeg
I got up there to
where
that
he had
muskeg,
killed,
yeah.
and tell us about the first deer that came into your call.
So I get up to the muskeg, see his carcass. There's another one kind of like you drop down. You can get over to another muskeg. I figure, I'll go to the other one that doesn't have a deer carcass in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Just
It's just what
using
you
my
do.
brain.
No,
And I
that's
get
the
over
operator
there.
talking.
It's like 1 o'clock. I'm hungry.
Yep.
I've been working hard all day to get up there. I sit down. I call. I wait 5 minutes. Nothing. So I get my sandwich out. Get my sandwich bag out, and I pull it out, and I'm opening it up, and I look up, and it's real foggy.
Yeah.
It was real foggy that day, and I can just kind of see the other side of the muskeg.
Yeah.
Earlier that day, lower, I couldn't even see the other side of a muskeg, like 30 yards. Like it was
That
just
was the
super
same
thick.
day that we were up
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
at 1,500 feet.
And but in the fog, I see something move, and I look, and there's a doe over there on the far end side of the muskeg. I don't know, 50, 70 yards, something like that.
yeah.
And so I'm, set the sandwich down, rifle up, and I look, and she just kind of like works her way up the far edge of the muskeg and that disappears. And I'm
Had you
thinking,
called yet?
I had called.
you
So
called
I
her
had
in.
wait. It was like 5 minutes at that
Yeah.
point. And she kind of disappeared up in the corner. I thought, well, she's gone. She saw me move, whatever. But I blow on the call again. She comes hopping out of those bushes where she disappeared. And like 5 seconds, she is standing 15 feet in front of me, just standing there looking at me. And so she's a nice doe. So right in the chest, perfect, right in the brisket. Didn't hardly ruin any meat whatsoever. And I watch her run away. She turns and runs, and I can see blood pouring out the front of her chest.
Yeah.
I have a picture of the path of blood in her body
Yeah.
laying there.
That's the evidence right there.
Right. There you go. So I like, well, that was a good start.
Our job is done here.
No, I was thinking maybe more deer will come in. So I just shot, and so I blow on the call. I pick up my sandwich, and I look up, and there's a little buck coming out of the same spot where that doe was.
Don't you know by now that you shouldn't pick up your sandwich right after you call?
Right. So far, it's been good luck for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the
honestly,
opposite.
So,
Yeah,
so
you
I
should.
honestly kind of expected with the shot, the call was hopefully like distract from the shot.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time for him to come in. I'm going to sit here for a while and see
Yeah.
if I can't coax something else in.
Yeah.
Right.
No coaxing was needed.
And anyway, so this little buck shows up over there. I'm like, okay. So I set my sandwich down and I get my phone out and I put it on video. I should have done that with a doe. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing, wanders up the same way to the same spot, and I can kind of see him, and I call, and he just kind of jumps back for a minute, then sticks his head out, and I call again. He comes out a little further, and it took him a while. He kind of wandered down, didn't get as close as the doe did, but wandered over towards me, and then wandered around, and I ate my sandwich while he wandered around the field. I
You
said,
just didn't want to shoot that one.
no, he was small. He was a little spiker, like 3-inch spike on one
Oh,
side and
yeah,
one
yeah.
spike on the other, and he was smaller than the doe, and I was like,
Yeah.
and so I just, I've got
And
2 tags left at this point. I'd like to,
And the
Yeah,
less
shoot
meat
something.
down the mountain, the better.
not really. I wasn't that worried about it. A deer's not that heavy, you
Right,
know. It's
right.
like I said, unless you shoot one of those really big bucks, and
Right.
so I was like, I'm just going to wait. Hopefully something else shows up. So I ate my sandwich, ate my packaroons, ate my, all my snacks and everything, just had a Snickers.
Nice.
And, after eating for a while, and I think I maybe goofed off on some Sudoku on my phone or something, looking around. And finally, like, all right, well, I guess I should go cut that deer up and get off this mountain. And I went over, cut the deer up, and then found a much, much easier way down than the way I went up, which was actually the way you told me later that you'd gone up through that area.
Yes.
Which if you had gone the way that I went to get up there, you probably would have ended up on another side of the island.
Yeah.
If you had tried to go out that way or had come up and had gone out the same way.
It is kind of confusing. There's a lot of...
Because all the elevations in the trees, and you get in there and you think... Because you had showed me one way that you had gone or whatever. You're like, yeah, you kind of cut through here, and you probably weren't... You weren't comparing to your phone and your previous times you've been up there. You're just kind of showing me what you thought was right. And so I tried to go that way. And I probably climbed 100 feet in elevation in the trees here, only to drop back off of it and then climb some more and be like, where in the world? Looking at my phone, and I'm doing these like it didn't make any sense.
Right.
But then I pulled out my InReach, and the topo on there is much better. And it showed a high point here and a high point here and a saddle. And I hiked out that saddle, and it was exactly like you described. It's kind of like open meadow, just through the trees. Just couldn't be more beautiful.
Yeah.
Hiked that out, and it took me almost 4 hours to get up there. I got down in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I was just coming, down behind camp, the steep area there. I just turned my light on, like the last 50 yards. Yeah. And then I came in the camp and grabbed the water jug and ran over to the creek to fill up on water. And no sooner did I get back here, and you guys had pulled up, and
saw your headlight coming through.
I was going to come over and help, but you guys' deer were already cut up and in backpack. So
yeah, there was no dragging a deer down that mountain.
No poles were used.
They would have been at the bottom.
In the retrieval of these deer. No.
Yep.
So here's something. Been calling you the operator a lot, but you just did a whole lot of sandwich talking.
Yeah.
Sandwich operator.
So, well, not necessarily. I had that thought, but that doesn't quite.
What was that you were playing? Sudoku?
Sudoku.
Sudoku.
Oh.
It's a game for people that, like to think.
So.
That's why I haven't heard of it. Huh.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. So you ask somebody, what do you do? Mo would say, I'm an operator. Mostly. And then you would ask, the follow-up question would be naturally to ask, well, what branch are you in? Sandwich branch. What team are you in? Sudoku.
Sudoku.
There you go.
Sudoku is a math puzzle game, just for those
people can look it up.
People can look it up.
Also,
probably know what it is, but for people like Remington who think I'm just playing Candy Crush,
that's for people that don't like to think.
Yeah.
So
when the deer, you mentioned earlier, when the deer see him, they say, that's Jason Bourne. If they were to see you on your phone playing little video games, would they go, that's Jason Bourne? Like that? Would there be a question mark?
You mentioned the Jason Bourne thing. That might be why that doe ran over there. She probably couldn't believe her eyes. She heard the call and saw me and just like, I got to get a better look at this.
I've seen him on TV.
Yeah.
And look at him right here, just playing a stupid game on his phone right in front of me.
I wasn't playing the game. Actually, I don't know if I played a game that time. I've definitely played games other times.
Well, obviously, folks can tell that we love to give each other a hard time.
Oh,
yeah.
But what's interesting is I know another guy that loves to eat sandwiches.
This guy.
In fact, I make them for him every day.
It's funny because he's fat.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not fat.
That's why he wears that dress.
That's why he has to wear. That's what I'm getting at here. Yeah, he had to get the dress in an extra large.
Yeah,
I will say,
which is a little bigger than he usually wears.
When he was coming down the mountain, he slept one time, and I said, "Oh, fat boy fell down."
I heard you say that. Wasn't real happy about it.
No, Dalton was not in a great mood.
No, that's not true.
Not in a great mood, but you were ready to get off that mountain.
No, I was just focused on not going for a slide because my outsoles were the worst of the three of us going down that hill.
I just accepted the sliding. Like, I would hit a mushy spot that you guys had already taken out, and I would just on purpose hit it and slide and just sit down and stand back up as I was sliding. It's like momentum.
Right about right now in this podcast, I'm going to get a text from either Ryan Lampers or Kayam saying, "You idiot, Why didn't you bring micro spikes?
Because
You know,
I can promise you I'm going to get one of those texts.
I think you can just tell them it's because we haven't hunted that way before in this time.
Yeah.
Well,
it
what
was
did I say?
something
Well,
new.
we
What
never
did
need
I
'em
say
here.
when
Yeah,
we got
we
to
never
the
need 'em.
bottom of that mountain? I said Ryan Lampers would want to do this hunt for these bucks.
Well, he
this
would
time of
want to
year.
do it that style.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, he would love that.
Yeah.
He'd go up there
I don't
and
even know him.
camp.
Haven't met him yet, but
He would like it.
He would like it.
You'd like it very much. Speaking of, thank you to
That's
Ryan
about-
Lampers
You know,
for
that's not true. I
sponsoring
did-
the show.
I did talk to him in a video call once.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
It's basically
Yes.
meeting in
Yes,
person.
thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
I've got, well, you're probably sitting on the glassing pad over
It's
there.
actually drying out. I got it wet today because
okay.
I was sitting on it and using
Coincidentally
it.
enough, I
But
met him in the airport
That's
a couple
right.
months back.
You did.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going,
Yeah.
where
I
it
think you
came
were
from.
going to work.
But I was walking through the airport and I see this long-haired guy. Looked like he just got done with a moose hunt. He had his hood up.
Naturally.
'Cause he was trying to
Smells
stay
like-
undercover.
Clearly
Yeah.
Ryan fashion.
Well, yeah, he was no operator, but yeah, he couldn't evade detection there.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh my gosh, that's Ryan Lampers."
Did you walk up to
You
him?
know, not quite Jason Bourne, but that's.
Can I get a
that's Ryan
selfie, Mr.
Lampers.
Lampers?
Yeah.
I hear you sponsor my friend's podcast,
yeah.
which might be changing after this episode.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
it
not
might
going
be.
to want anything
He might
to do
hear
with
this
us.
and want nothing to do with us anymore. But no, he does love a challenge, and I've talked to him before, and I've told him, I've said, kind of just giving him a hard time, but saying, if you ever want to do an easy hunt, you could come down with us in the later year and just have your pick of deer. And he's like, no, it's too easy, man.
Joke's on you.
Got to make it hard.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, we found a way to make it tough.
But
We know how to
unfortunately
happen.
for him, this is the first time this has happened in how many
So
years?
here's what we'll do. If we can get Ryan to come down here, send him with me. I'll sneak a red light in his backpack and take his old
his
one,
old
and
one?
I'll take him up the mountain there, and we'll
send him
try
in
to
a direction.
reenact. We'll try to reenact that
We'll just
first
see
day.
what
and
he's
we can-
made of.
Yeah.
Initiation.
Yeah. Give him a little red light and not much light to work with, and
Yeah.
I can just be
Red
the
Light
initiation
Mountain.
for anybody new.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that way.
It doesn't get dark till 4:00. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
As long as you're headed down the hill by 3:30, you're fine.
You're fine. You're good to go.
It's funny because that first half coming down would be pretty easy in the dark.
No.
It's that second half,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Well, we saw where he came down next to camp.
Well,
like,
and where-
he just
I
dove.
transferred his track from his Onyx
know you
onto
did,
my
yeah.
phone just to laugh at.
It's
Because
it's hilarious.
that
Epic.
good.
Yeah.
It's just
Epic.
down, up, down, up, down,
Circle,
up,
circle.
circle,
Right.
And then
back up, down. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I laugh every time I see it.
It's epic.
Man, I can't wait to show that to my friends.
you ended up in a drainage
I did.
that I thought I'd
Yeah.
try, right? And I'm
Yeah.
in the daylight. Well, not daylight. It's getting dark, but
Yeah.
I can still see enough that I don't have. I do my best when I'm in the woods to not turn the light on until I absolutely have to, so I
Right.
don't lose the night vision, right?
Right.
But I'm working my way down this. I mean, I am like just grabbing everything I can grab and just sliding down
Right.
through stuff. And what's keeping me from like falling is the fact that there's so many bushes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is probably where you were going
Oh,
through.
yeah.
Because I was like, well, because the upper part of the drainage was so good, this lower part's going to be good too, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
Not so.
But
Yeah.
I land all of a sudden just feet in the creek, standing up.
Yep.
Like, all right. And then it was flat.
Jason Bourne. So,
Bourne style. Still got his
Stuck that-
hands on his
and,
AR.
Stuck that landing.
yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, no. So yeah, you said that you crawled down
My
much of
goodness.
that.
And that's the problem with a hill like that is there's so many of those deep cuts.
Right.
There's very few spots you can actually cross over on that. So you want to stay on one side or the other. So
Yeah.
the problem was, if you're lost, you get down to a cut, you're just trying to figure out how to get out. Right.
Yeah.
So you get out and then say you're on the wrong side of that cut, but you want to stay on that cut, on that side of that cut, because there might not be
Yeah.
another way to get across.
Right.
Hence all the circling and up and down and
Right.
Yep.
yeah.
Well, and it's not that you just have one cut. It's like you've got this cut
Oh,
and this
it's
cut and this
so
ridge
many.
in the middle.
Yeah.
And usually that's the best place to travel if you're traveling. The cut is the
Right.
ridge, right? But like that's what I thought too until I got to this part of that ridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
40. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Micro spikes and boots would be the way
Yeah.
to do
Oh, I
that.
see. Even
So-
just hiking boots would have been
After
so much better.
after our journeys up that mountain, I'm thinking about American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
After that,
Yeah.
I think that we would qualify.
I think
Definitely
you've got
walked
it
some
in you.
logs in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's pretty much what you got to do to get
Yeah.
up or down from that location.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they just one thing they should change, because they changed that course over time, right? Is make everybody wear a 50-pound backpack.
Yeah.
and I think we all have a chance.
And
then.
have red lights on their head
Yeah.
in the pitch black.
In
And the
dark.
lights off. Yeah.
Do it
Do
in the
it
dark.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we
Yeah.
got an idea for a new game show.
I
Yeah,
like it.
there you
There you
go.
go.
The Great
I like it.
Alaska Game Show.
One new spot that we checked out, we came down a little creek drainage and it was thick like that. You were just grabbing and hanging and grabbing and
That was awful.
falling and landing
Yeah.
and trying not to hit your head
Pro
on a
tip,
deadfall.
don't grab a hold with a bare hand of
Devil's Club.
Devil's Club. I'm
yeah,
still
we
picking out these
established
pieces.
I've
over
been
here.
watching you earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
Your head's just down, and you
Yeah.
get your knife out, and you're just
Well, it's
thinking,
getting
yeah, he's
worse.
digging the Devil's Club out of his hand.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've still got some in there, but
He's
I
starting
had
to feel the
gloves
deep
on.
burn.
Yeah. Such a deep burn.
Deep, deep burn.
And those little tiny alder brushes sticking out of the side of
when
the
they hit
hill,
you in the eye.
they hit you in the eye, but they're surprisingly strong. You can grab them at the root, and
Yeah.
they will
Oh,
hold
yeah,
you up.
that's why
They're
I grabbed-
surprisingly
Because
strong.
everything else
yeah,
there was alders except for the one,
and you grabbed it at the root.
and I'm climbing the hill and trying to climb over this log, and
Like, oh, that looks good. I'll grab that.
that in there was today when I climbed up to 500 feet. That was steeper than even with like the stuff up in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
It
a
was just
really steep hill.
insanely. And the
Yeah.
higher I went, the steeper it got, and I finally decided that wasn't. It was not time.
Yeah.
Being Jason Bourne ain't easy. It ain't
Yeah.
for the weak.
So
I would do it
today,
now.
because that was yesterday,
Correct.
right? Today, being your last full day here, we have always talked about hunting this one particular spot on one of these islands down here.
Yep.
And so I said, well, you being the reconnaissance man,
Yep.
Mo and I had made a trip into the first muskeg
did,
there
yeah.
last year, but there was too much snow, not much sign in there. Once there's that much snow, they
We
just kind of
basically
move
just
out
ran
of
in
there.
there to look.
Yeah, we made a quick poke in there, looked around and said, this would be dynamite if it wasn't full of snow. And there's a lot of muskegs that are all connected up in there, and there's a good creek, and there's even a little lake in there. And so we thought, well, we should come back here. And you were looking for a spot to go. And so I said, well, Tabitha and I are going to go back to a place that we had been several days in a row at the beginning of the trip before you'd even been here, where I had called in and seen a few other deer. Matter of fact, our first time in the woods this trip, I blew on the call just inside the trees, and within 5 minutes, I never saw the deer there, but I heard a doe walking along the beach in the little bit of ice on the beach grass, and it came in, never got a good look at it until it ran away, but it came in close enough and got eyes on us before I saw
And
it.
it was hissing at us.
Well, it just blew as it ran
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
It just, and then it took off, and I saw it running up the hill. And so we ended up following a trail up there and found a good way to get in there through some of the old growth. Hunted around in there, bumped a few more deer over the next few days, had a couple of shot opportunities that were those chances that would have destroyed a lot of meat, so they walked away.
Tried to find some new trails.
Yeah, tried to find some new spots, tried to go in
Went
there
up
a
and
different
around,
way, and
yeah.
found where not to go, and then found a good way.
Yep.
And so today, I wanted to go back to a familiar spot where we knew we could get in there quickly and be in there first thing in the morning, relatively speaking, after we got you guys dropped off. And so we did that.
All day.
So we
Yeah.
dropped you off in a spot today where you could cover some ground. I dropped you in that spot that Mo and I were last year that we said looks good. And Mo, you didn't get anything.
He
No,
went to an old
not
faithful
today.
spot.
I had a little doe walk by. I saw her coming on the trail
Mm-hmm.
before she saw me, so I stopped.
Yep.
And I think she saw me.
Yeah.
But so I blew the call and just little doe, a little bigger than the one I shot
Yeah.
near the beginning there. But blew the call, got my camera out, videoed, and just videoed her. She walked right past me on the trail.
Yeah.
Scratch her on the head.
No, a little too far for that. But
Don't pet the wildlife.
right,
This ain't Yellowstone.
Jason Bourne smarter than that.
Jason Bourne doesn't care how cute they are. He does not pet them.
But you covered some miles today.
I did cover some miles. I was 3.8 going in.
Yeah. That's a ways.
Not as much elevation, but
No, not a ton of
definitely
elevation,
some
up to
distance.
500, but
Yeah, but way back into some valley country.
way back in there. And
That traditionally we've done real well at.
but that just all, it was all, once again, time of year. And
Right.
I saw a lot of sign. I just didn't, I saw the one little doe and I passed on her because like, it's like,
Right.
I've got 2 tags left. I'd like to kill something of size.
Right. And then you went to that new spot.
Yes.
Flesh that out for us a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, that's a spot I hadn't been to before. I mean, we've looked at it on maps a little bit, but just haven't gotten around to going up there. So, yeah. So yeah, you dropped me off. And I studied maps for a little bit, found what looked like an easy way to get up to it, which ended up being a great way. I mean, it was just an easy hike up, just a couple 100 feet up into the muskeg. So I hiked up there, spent a while just calling and glassing and looking around. Nothing, tons of sign, but no deer moving around. So I sat down on a tree and I started calling. And I sat there for 2 hours probably after calling. Finally, I kind of got bored, so I started reaching my girlfriend, and I'm, text her for a second, and then I look up, and there's this deer, just big doe, walking across the top of the meadow there. So, anyways, I started blasting, and yeah, she died shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I heard your shots going on.
We did.
That's when you messaged me.
Yeah, I texted you because Tabitha heard the first one, and I heard the echo of it. And
And then they kept coming.
and then I was listening, and then boom, boom,
We're looking at each
and it's
other.
echoing,
We're like,
and then wait a second, and then boom, boom, and it's echoing through the valley behind us, and I'm thinking,
we're both.
boy,
like,
that's a lot of shooting.
Yeah,
Either he found a couple of deer, or he's trying to stop a charge,
or he just missed,
Yeah.
or he
Yeah.
missed.
Yep.
which
And
is
so
what happened.
I hopped on the old inReach right away. I was like, was that you? What's going on? And then you said, yeah, I think my gun might be off, but I got a big doe.
Yeah, no, that first shot completely airballed. Still not, the shot felt great, but
About 100 yards, you said?
Yeah, 100 yards broadside.
And you were posted up on a stump for a rest?
Yeah, I was posted up on a stump, airballed it.
Huh.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And so what makes me think that, I felt really good about the shot first off, but then the second shot was pretty rough. It was quartering away, and I was holding, and it was going up a hill. So I was holding right up in front of that hind quarter there. And unfortunately, I hit it right in the hind corner, like quite a ways off from where I was holding, and lower than I was hoping for. So it went in. I mean, it killed it. It was a killing shot, but not clean. Hence the follow-up shot
Right.
there that I had to do, which I had to move in closer for that one. At that point, I was like, yeah, something's a little bit off, which makes sense. Cause I took a couple spills yesterday coming down the mountain.
Yeah, I saw a couple of times that your gun kind of went flat, and I couldn't quite tell. I thought, did he fall on his gun? Because I that's something that we're all paranoid about, right? Like you're doing any climbing and you fall, and you're just trying to not smash your scope on the ground,
but also catch yourself so you don't get hurt.
That's where that sling comes in.
But eventually, it happens. Like it happens to anybody. You hunt enough in this type of stuff, and you will fall, and you will smack your gun on the ground.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's what's. I mean, I haven't shot it on paper since, but thinking that might be the deal.
It's happened before. It could be the case.
Yeah, it happens frequently to me.
Yeah. So you got that deer, and then that was right about 12:30.
No, it was closer to
like
1.
Oh, that's right.
Around 1 o'clock.
We were still sitting at our first setup there.
Getting
ready to move.
Right. So she and I went into that spot that we'd been at the beginning of the trip, where I had seen deer, seen a lot of sign. It looked really good. It wasn't very high. It's only a few hundred feet up, but there are several muskegs, a few of which are, linear distance. It's 150, 200 yards, but you can't see that far because it's high and then low. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be in the middle to see off both sides. But then there's a creek that dumps out of it, and it goes down through some brush, through the deer trails, and then opens up into a 50-yard muskeg. And then you follow that one down, and it goes to a 100-yard muskeg. And so we were just my plan was we're going to go up the trail that we found that's super clean, super quiet. We're just going to tiptoe and sneak in
easy
there.
trail after yesterday's.
Yeah,
haul.
and I'm going to call the whole way in there just in case there's something bedded next to the muskeg and I can bring it out and shoot it. Because at this point, I'm up to shoot. And I wanted to shoot minimum a full-size doe.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shoot anything super small. But I had said after yesterday, and I didn't want to shoot a second deer for us on the top of the big mountain. Because, number one, a lot of work, and number two, we're going to be pushing past daylight, and I didn't want to do that unless it was a huge buck that was, I say, worth it, right?
Yeah.
So I'd said last night, I said, all right, well, tomorrow or the next day, being the end of the trip, I will shoot a big doe if that's all I get a chance at. And so today, we bumped one small deer out of a muskeg on the way into it. There was just so much water in the trail. There was a fresh pile of bear scat right in the middle of the trail, like in the water, with some hair in it. There was a fresh bear front pad track in the grass that you could see very well outlined. Nothing big. Again, we haven't seen a big bear track down here in years.
Yeah.
Just
Not
because
many big bears.
Just because
down
the
in
time
this
of year
area.
that we're coming to, most of the big ones are full and up on the mountain, not where we're at. But so anyway, we worked around and called. I mean, we were up on the mountain and hunting at 9 o'clock after we had dropped you guys off and done our thing and then taken care of the boat and done everything like that. So we made it in there, and it was early in the day. And I thought, being here early, we're going to get something in the first 2 hours. Because normally we're having to climb a lot more, and so we're not there for a little while. But I'm thinking we'll shoot one first thing this morning. Didn't happen. We hunted for 4 or 5 hours and only bumped the one deer. And so we ran out of area. We covered all the muskegs, and I'm looking around, gun in hand, thinking, okay, well, maybe we're not going to see anything today. And then 1 o'clock came. You shot that deer. And you'd said that you'd just been hanging out in that muskeg. And that's what I was thinking about doing. I thought, well, we're not seeing anything. There's trails up here. There's fresh tracks everywhere. There are deer around. We bumped them here a few days ago. We had shot opportunities a few days ago. They are here. But today was sunny. Today was a beautiful day. It was cooler.
It was so
It was probably
gorgeous.
40 degrees today. But
Yeah.
sunshine, beautiful day. And so now I'm trying to strategize and think, well, where'd they go? Are they just bedded down? Are they not wanting to be in the muskegs? Do they feel exposed? I mean, I would think they'd want to be bedded on a nice sunny south-facing slope and
That's what you'd think.
soak up some heat,
Yeah.
like a lot of other animals would want to do, especially after a run of terrible weather like we've been having. I'd think they'd want to be moving, but it didn't happen that way. And so we sat one spot for an hour, and then I said, all right, let's get up and go back to the next big muskeg where the trail pops up to from the salt. And so we're close to where we need to be in case we shoot something. We have a quick
It's quick
get out of
exit,
there.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to pick you up at 2:45 and then pick you up at 3. So we sat there for another half hour, and I just got to the spot where we'd sat several days ago underneath a nice little set of trees there. And I just sat down with my pack still strapped to me, sat on the ground, blew on the call, nothing. 10 minutes goes by, blew on the call again, nothing.
I started to fall asleep, leaning on my pack.
Yeah, I looked over and her head's back and her eyes are closed, and I'm thinking, well, at least it's a relaxing day after yesterday, I guess, whatever.
I wasn't up to shoot, and I knew he was on it, so
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about it.
I blew on the call again, nothing happened. 5 minutes goes by, and I'm looking, and the only branches around us that I didn't have a good view through that were obstructing any views I had was like right next to me, probably 5 feet away from me. And it was a bunch of them just grown out at an angle.
No.
And so I looked over and I just turned my head and I looked through that and I see the double throat patch. Oh, great. There's a deer and it's on me. It's locked on. And so I'm looking and I'm thinking, all right, can I shoot through this? And the branches are that big around. They're about 1.5 inches around.
And
so I'm
he
thinking,
says, "Dear, don't move.
yeah. So I whispered to her,
Move."
I didn't say it twice. I said, I said, there's a deer. Don't move. And so she's, okay. And so my gun's in my lap.
I'm just
and
freezing.
so immediately I'm thinking, I got some brush to shoot through. My scope was on 1 power. So I flicked my light on my reticle, thinking it's going to be a tight shot. I want to make sure that I thread the needle here. pick my gun up, and I look through the scope, through the brush, and I'm seeing sticks, and I'm going, that's not going to work. So I leaned forward as far as I could, leaning over, looking at the deer.
Yeah.
But when I leaned forward, the tree that she was behind at this angle was now right in front of her when I leaned forward. So now all I can see are ears on the other side of the trees. And so I'm sitting there leaning on my knees with my elbows, and she didn't move. Like 30 seconds goes by. She's still just locked in. So I took one hand off the rifle, held it up there to my shoulder, picked up my deer call off my chest, stuck it in my mouth, got back on the gun and blew on the deer call. And she just immediately just took a couple of bounds and walked in another 10 yards and then stood there straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Boom.
60-yard shot.
No.
And so I shot her right on the inside of the front shoulder. And she made one bound, and on the way down, she didn't stick the landing. She one bound and then just hit the ground.
Oh.
So that was that. And
Yep.
I was happy. I was very
He
happy.
was.
Um,
Ran
and
up.
you said you heard my shot
I did.
from where you
Yep.
were.
Yep.
No surprise with that Mondo muzzle brake I've got on that gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's painful.
So I shot that one, walked up to it, and it was great. I didn't lose any shoulder meat at all. Lost some rib meat on the entrance just because it kind of skimmed along the inside there. And then, so we ripped that one apart. That was 215 that I shot that one. So
what did you find in that one?
I'm getting to that.
Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't forget.
Yeah, no, I won't forget that. That's a great part of the story. So we ripped that one apart because, again, we're fighting the clock here. Not to get down
But
in
we
the
had a
daylight,
quick,
but
fast way
because
down, yeah.
I had to get you guys out and I didn't want you guys waiting. And I noticed from the top there was some fog setting in over towards where Mo was.
You were 8 minutes late.
I was 8 minutes late.
8 minutes late.
So I'm looking at my watch and I said, all right, let's snap a few pictures. We snapped a couple of pictures with the deer. And I'm just ripping through this thing again.
Yep. Yep.
Making the noises.
I'm
Hey, watch
holding
the
the
chef
legs
in the
looking for
dress,
bears.
everything, yeah.
Yep.
No, I was not in the dress
Oh,
today.
no, not in the
I
dress.
was wearing
No.
this soft shell and this
Oh.
base layer hoodie.
It
That's
was
all
so
I wore.
nice. The sun
That's-
was heating up my face
That's
today.
all I wore all
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
That was nice.
So anyway, I get through half of the deer, roll it over. I'm doing the other side. And I kind of noticed on the butt, on the one side, there's something kind of sticking through. And I made one more cut and then tink, my knife blade hit something in the back of the deer leg, like right underneath the hide and through the hide is sticking the shank of my bullet. Right in the back of that deer. It was just hanging on by like the boat tail was all that was left in that deer. And so I pulled it out. That's awesome. Stuck it in my bino harness and I got it sitting here.
Kept going.
Yeah.
Speaking of interesting things, I forgot to even tell you this earlier. That doe that I shot today,
Yeah.
one of its legs, she must have had a gnarly compound fracture at some point. So I picked up the leg and I was skinning it,
Yeah.
and I noticed immediately that its hoof was like twisted, like its leg was
Really?
twisted. So I looked up its leg, and it had a piece of old bone sticking
Oh.
out, and it had healed around the bone. Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, because I was looking at the leg straight on, and that hoof was twisted a lot,
Wow.
like a good bit.
Really?
And then that little piece, I mean, it was an old break. I mean, because it had healed completely.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it was crazy. There was a piece of little bone
You
sticking
wonder
out.
if it fell or if it got nicked with a bullet. Like if it got shot or if
Shot
it
in the
just
leg
took a
and-
bad fall somewhere.
I don't know.
God, it took a
Yeah.
swipe from a bear, but still got away.
Yeah, if it got swatted
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe so.
That's crazy.
But, pretty cool, though. I
Yeah.
mean, that it had that bad of a break, and there was bone sticking out, and it healed up like that.
And that it lived
Yeah.
long enough for it
Right.
to heal.
Clearly not enough infection to
Right.
cause any major issues.
And
but-
lived through that pain and found food and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, so I went ahead and I skinned that leg out, and it healed up perfectly. I mean, that deer was fully functional, but just, its leg was all twisted. Weird.
I've never seen that
Animals are
before.
tough.
Yeah.
I had neither.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
had neither.
interesting.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hunt the 40-mile caribou herd enough, then you'll shoot something that's been maimed. But I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They are tough animals.
Very
and
tough,
we have
yeah.
all remarked at some point or another after we've shot a deer down here and gone, how did it run 50 yards?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make a perfect heart and lung shot and they just take off running.
Yeah.
Even that one today, I punched that thing square in the chest at 60 yards with a 7 mag with a 145 grain hammer bullet going 3,100 feet a second, maybe a little more. And it's still just
bounded.
launched into the air.
Yeah.
What did the hydrostatic shock effect look like on that?
Rippling.
Rippling?
Yeah.
Just
Because I had my scope on 1 power, so I'm shooting both eyes open, and I didn't blink apparently because I watched it hit it, and it jolted it, but it didn't jump immediately. Like it hit it, and then it turned slightly, and then it jumped like it was headed for the trees, and then when it jumped, it fell.
I'll say the biggest.
It knocked it back substantially.
So previously, down here, I've been hunting with a 300 short mag.
Yeah.
With a 168 grain HHT. Very similar bullet. 3,150 feet per second. Very, very similar. A little bigger. Really, honestly, really big and fast for the size of these deer.
Right.
And with that, I found that, as long as you hit somewhere near the vitals, the cavitation just puts them down.
Yep.
Not that that's the way I tried to shoot, but that's just like we talked about when you're on the beach and you get a shot and you take it. But I'm shooting with these little, a 6mm arc, little bullet. I think I have one right here. Yeah. And very small cartridge, especially if you compare this to anything anybody else at this table's hunting with.
Yeah. Tiny.
88 grain bullet, hammer hunter.
Going
2,600 feet per second. So really relatively slow.
Yeah. Very moderate. Yeah.
Right. Out of an AR-15, 18-inch barrel. So nothing crazy.
Right.
If anything's crazy, it's a small and slow, but it's still perfect. I honestly think this is perfect for these deer.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's
the amount
great.
of damage.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily be hunting a lot of big game with this. Right. But, I do think there's a lot to be said for a monolithic in something like this because that works properly. Because something like a match bullet, if it didn't open or something like that, you just pinhole, then you may never find the animal just because it's so hard. There's so many holes.
Right.
But I haven't. That first deer that I got shot outside the ribs on the offside, there was that much bile under the skin around the outside the ribs. Like it just blew a hole.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fist size hole. The doe I shot the other day in the chest, fist size hole on the entrance, and it cut like a broadhead, like a split, like a broadhead with bleeders.
Yeah.
On the entrance. I mean, just absolutely. But there's a huge difference. They go a lot further when they've been hit with this versus when they've been hit with a 300 short mag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is half the weight, right?
Right. Yeah, 88 grains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. We were talking about this a few days ago, but that 7 mag that I'm shooting this trip, I've had that gun for years, and I have brought that gun on 80%, if not more, of the trips that I've made down here because it's a gun that I've got and I like it. It hasn't let me down. It's been reliable. It shoots really, really well. It's not the nicest rifle in the world. It's nothing fancy. It's a factory. You can buy it at Sportsman's Warehouse rifle. But it works. And it's reliable. And now the scope that I have on it this year has to be my all-time favorite rifle scope that I ever hunted with down here. I picked that scope up some time ago with the intention of putting it on my brown bear guiding gun, my 375 Ruger, because it's a 1:8 Trijicon Credo, I think it is, and it's got a lit reticle. There's 5 brightness settings, red and green light, and it's that true 1 power down here, being able to just raise your rifle and you have both eyes open and you can see the reticle through your right eye is absolutely killer. I don't think I'll ever hunt with a different scope other than something like that down here again, because shooting in the timber like this, an 8 power is plenty enough to make a several 100-yard long shot. Plenty enough. And it's a first focal. but the reticle design in that is perfect for this application. But that combination, that most guys would not have a 1-8 on a 7 mag, or even a 300 or something like that. You think 1-8, you think 375 or 338, for up close bear hunting type of stuff. Right. But that's what it is down here. And the 7 mag for me, I just like that gun. It works really, really well. And that hand load, that's the first animal that I've shot with that 145 HHT, which Hammer Bullets, another sponsor of the podcast. It works well. I've shot other animals with hammers, and you and I combined have shot a lot of animals in the last few years with hammers. Yeah. They work well. We haven't had any failures. Haven't
had any issue that wasn't contributable to the shot placement.
We've killed black bears, brown bears, moose, blacktails, and caribou with them.
Yep.
In the last 2.5 years now. Mm-hmm. They work.
They work very well.
It's not everybody's perfect bullet. There is no such thing as a perfect bullet.
Right.
But this is a blend, I think
it's pedals, the best choice. I mean,
yeah, the pedals are designed to penetrate.
Yeah.
Well, the bullet is designed to penetrate in a little ways, and then the pedals are engineered to shear off. It's rapid expansion. The pedals dump off, and then that shank with that squared off front edge continues to penetrate, which is what I found in the back of that deer today. It's a nice hybridized design because you get a lot more shock and rapid expansion than something like a more traditional copper bullet, like a Barnes or a Hornady CX, which are fine bullets. And I've killed a pile of deer with Barnes and Hornady CXs.
Multiple times on different species, not with these little bullets, but I have shot animals in the right below the spine, or even high in the lungs, and it had broken the backbone because of the hydrostatic shock. Didn't touch the backbone. The shot itself didn't, but it broke it or shocked it.
Yeah.
And it
just zaps it.
You look at it and you're just kind of like, well, the bullet went through here.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it expands so fast.
It just creates that.
But, yeah, it's something interesting. But, Remi, you found one of your bullets.
I did.
On that buck that you shot way up top.
I did. Yeah, so the buck that I shot that was facing me, so when I shot him in the neck,
that was a 200-yard shot.
That was a 200-yard shot. Yep, shot him in the neck, went through the chest cavity, and lodged I found it in the skin, kind of near the pelvis, on the top of the back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a Barnes LRX bullet that had retained almost all of its weight. I mean, it had shed one pedal. So it retained, which was kind of impressive. Because it went through a lot of bone. But I found that was
and you're
cool.
shooting a 300 Win Mag with a 190 grain LRX.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a great combination. The LRX is a good bullet.
And I've shot a lot of bullets out of that gun, and that one specifically shoots the best out of my 300.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of everything else, it holds the tightest group.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much just wraps it up.
I think so.
We've been telling stories and recapping the hunt. Yep. This has been a lot of fun.
We've got one more day left.
Yep. Nice to finally get Remi on the podcast.
Yeah.
We've been talking about.
Thanks for joining the show.
Probably be the last time after that performance. Too much about the drag talk and.
Oh boy.
Oh my.
That's. Oh boy. Yeah, it's hard to divide the line when you have. Well, yeah, it's just hard to divide the lines. But no, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was
little deer camp chatter.
Yep.
Well, thank you to the sponsors that have helped put the show on. This is not our normal studio appearance, obviously. Still in deer camp, and we'll be headed back to the normal studio here directly. Next episode will be a normal setting. But thanks for listening. If you enjoy the show, like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Leave us a 5-star rating and a positive written review. Lots of you guys have done that, and we greatly appreciate that. At this point in the show, that's the only way that we're asking you to support the show. We do have a few partners for the podcast. We mentioned Stealthy Hunter with Ryan Lampers, our good friend, at least until this episode comes out. And Hammer Bullets. And last but not least,
Initial Ascent backpacks.
3
of us are carrying
Which-
this hunt
yep.
and have packed out quite a few deer at this
I've
point.
got mine. I've
Yeah.
got the 8K. Tabitha's got the women's frame and bag.
Yep, using on 2 deer hunts now.
Yeah, she's had hers on 2 deer hunts.
Yep.
I've had mine on a couple of deer hunts, and
Moose hunt. Yep.
yep, on the moose hunt,
Yeah.
and then you've got yours as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been
We like them.
using my load cell bag and putting deer on the meat shelf. It's so nice.
I like that
Yeah.
load cell
Yeah.
bag. I'm going to have to get one of those.
Yeah, it's sweet.
There's something about getting blood on the pack, though, you know?
Yeah, well, when
Then
you use
again,
it,
the more your pack
when you're
smells like
using it
blood,
as a carry-on,
Yeah, you got to be careful about that.
don't want to be turned away from the airlines again. So- well, that's all for this week, folks. Have fun. We'll see you next time.
stay classy.